Hello, everybody.
Oh, hi, hello.
Welcome to Lorebeards 40,000. I'm Ross Watson.
I'm Norn Queen Alexis.
Oh boy, we've got a show today because we're going to be talking about a guy who has very little lore out there and
Oh,
only got his first model yesterday. Well,
Ross,
no,
he's
Wednesday.
too fast for lore.
He
Like, we're
is. He's,
talking about Wazdaka Gutsmek,
that's right. The fastest
who
orc.
I kept thinking his name was Gunsmek, and I kept calling him that, and I'm just like, wait a second. He's Guts. He's Guts. It's Gutsmek.
I mean, it is Gutsmek, yes.
Yep.
And he just got his first model Wednesday. He's been in the lore since fourth edition, so since 2003.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2004. So since 2004, so 22 years later, he's got his
You
first model.
know, look, at least he can drink now. That's what he was really waiting for. He was waiting until he could get a drink.
All right, Alexis, because people like us to introduce ourselves on the show, who are you?
That's a great question, and it took me years of my life. I already did this joke, actually. Hi, everyone. My name is Norn Queen Alexis. I am a YouTuber on occasion. I do Viking reenactment. I do painting commissions. I am way too deep into this hobby, and I am currently designing my own game, which is pretty cool. And I want to finish it this year. That's my goal for this year, is to finish it.
You got this. You
And
got
joining
this.
me is my lovely host, Ross.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ross Watson. I'm a game designer and author. I've worked on a whole bunch of Warhammer 40K role playing game books, several Warhammer 40K video games, and I was part of the US White Dwarf team for a couple of years. I've also just like a ton of role playing game stuff. You guys, if you go to Lorebeards and Role Playing, which is our other channel, you can hear me talk about all the other things I've worked on. So there you go. Now, this week, though, it's Gutsmek time. It's Gutsmek time. Oh, my God. We predicted it. We honestly were like, one of the things we thought about is it could be Wazdaka
Mm-hmm.
for the Adepticon reveal this week. And I'll be damned if it wasn't a really nice looking model, too.
He does look really, really, really cool, and I'm very happy with him. I want to let's grab a picture of him really quickly to put up on the screen, and I'll do that real fast because this model looks absolutely crazy, and I love him. I love him. I
Looks
just look at him.
sick. So
Just
sick.
look at him.
God
Look
dang,
at
that's
that
awesome.
dude. So they got him with a brand new miniature, a brand new dynamic pose using new technology to make the model look like it's moving, which is something that GW has been experimenting with, but this is the first model where it actually looks like the cycle is in motion.
That rocket blaster with the exhaust effects on it just looks so good.
Mhm.
Now,
Oh,
before the show, Alexis was saying he mounted a death claw skull on the front on the handlebars, and now I see it. Now I absolutely
yeah.
see a death claw skull right there.
That is a Deathclaw from Fallout, like 100%.
I love his popped collar. I
Oh
love
yeah,
he's got little goggles on and boss pole full of skulls, including a Space Marine helmet there behind him.
a beaky. A
Yeah,
beaky.
Mark 6, yeah. Uh,
Mhm.
so a lot has changed for Wazdaka over the years, actually, surprisingly. But this is his first model, and boy, he looks good.
Now, as far as I could tell, he wasn't in any other edition. He's going to be in 11th edition or the tail end of 10th edition, 11th edition, and he was in 4th edition. Now, I'm counting the Orc Codex as the 4th and 5th edition codex because it is the 4th edition codex. But back in the day, we didn't get codexes for every army, every edition, and we also didn't get FAQs. So if you were stuck with a bad army, you just kind of sucked. Like, that was it. It
Necro
was
Player 97, thank you so much for the super chat. You guys, super chats are the best way to keep our show going and keep us, making content for you. So we appreciate every single one. Necro Player says, I love this model, but I shudder to think about transporting this thing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely looking at it and I'm like, I am gonna have to like while looking at this, I'm gonna have to I'm gonna be drilling through the tire, through the terrain, and just putting a big pin through all of that, just so I can try to transport him, or maybe even put like a very heavy magnet on his wheel. I don't know. It's going to be a difficult one, but it's going to be an interesting challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think laser cut foam is going to quite do it. So
No.
it's a good point, Necker player. That is a difficult model to transfer because it has a lot of little fragile looking areas on it, and its base. Oof, yeah, you're right. That's going to be a tough one to move around. But by golly, it's going to look great on the tabletop.
Yep, and I'm stupid excited to see this model. Like, look at it. It looks so cool. And he's got a little grot on the back with goggles as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, you
Heck
can see
yeah.
that from this angle. The Warhammer community article on him has different angles of the shot, which are helpful because there's a really cool ammo belt that goes all the way up into his Psychoblasta.
And you can also see his biker jacket.
Oh yeah, even better. That's nice.
Yeah, absolutely love that. So. To explain who Wazdaka is, we have to explain a bunch of stuff about orcs, and we're going to throw it all at you in 3 hours. So the first thing that we have to figure out is like, well, what is an orc? An orc is a sometimes fungal humanoid creature that is either shaped like a gorilla or shaped like a humanoid. They are extremely muscular, and they have a inherent understanding of technology and psychic powers based on the number of orcs that are around them. So the more orcs, the smarter, the bigger, the stronger they get. If you have like a few dozen orcs, they're maybe making a couple of spears and punching each other in the face. You get a few thousand orcs, maybe one of them learns how to build a bow. And they're like, yeah, this is great. I can now stab that guy from over here. You get like upwards of 1 million orcs, then they're starting to make things like guns. Primitive, yes, but guns. Once you get above that, that's when the orcs are starting to go a little bit more crazy. They're starting to make technology like vehicles. They're starting to loot other species weaponry and trying to figure that out as well, though they will sometimes just blow themselves up because they don't properly understand it yet. It's once they start getting to the call of the Waaagh, and we have to explain what the Waaagh is. The Waaagh is an inherent psychic ability that all the orcs share, a connection to all orcs across the entire galaxy. All orcs feel the call of a Waaagh. Waaagh is basically just war. They feel the call of war. But it's called the Waaagh, and it's always spelt with an exclamation point at the end, even in Imperial records, and I will always find that funny. Once orcs reach a certain size, they are called to war. The war boss, the biggest orc amongst them, will be the chieftain, will lead them into a new battle because they need to fight something. Not just themselves. So orcs fighting themselves, that's a good scrap. But orcs fighting beakies, space marines, that's a proper fight. And that's what they want to do. So orcs hear this call and they start advancing their technology rapidly. They start developing space travel by an instinctual level. This is something that they just know, but they can't properly explain. In earlier editions of Warhammer 40K, it was through the power of belief, where orcs believe that they can do something so that they could. In more modern and less fantasy-esque lore, which is the current lore, it's more or less the orcs know it but don't know how to explain it. So they go, put this bucket on your head and it'll protect you from space. Instead of, here's a helmet, wear this so that you can breathe. It's, we don't know why, but you need this while you go out there and fight something.
The orc power belief is something I really loved about their lore. It peaked actually in 4th edition along with Wazdaka. That was last time we saw Wazdaka. Was also last time that the power of belief was a major front and center element of orc lore. It's been de-emphasized. The latest codex doesn't really even mention it. It doesn't mean that it's gone per se. We'd like to say it's no longer canon because it's only the current rule books are canon. It's been backgrounded and de-emphasized to the point where I think to the point where it essentially doesn't exist. Let's put it that way. But I think Games Workshop probably was responding to a lot of fan memes about orcs believing something so hard and it would just work. And it got it got too silly, I think maybe is possibly where that ended up. That may be why they've de-emphasized it and backgrounded it. But the power of belief, I'm hoping will make a return in the 11th edition Orcs Codex.
Yep. Now, I saw this and I was trying to avoid it.
Elemental Exposure, thank you for your super chat. He says this stream calls for a New York accent throughout.
It's New York. You gotta say it right. It's New York.
New York.
And emphasize that O.
York.
Yep. If you guys don't know, I am originally from Queens, New York, so I do talk with a New York accent, and it has only gotten worse as I've lived outside of the country. Like, I don't know what happened. My accent just kicked into overdrive when I moved here.
We got a comment here about Micah says kind of like the Krieg shovel meme. I think that is approaching that same level. Yeah, I agree.
Weirdly enough, Kriegers don't have like entrenching tools at all. Like,
well,
they have like some that are on their vehicles, but they themselves don't carry entrenching tools.
I think Games Workshop intentionally de-emphasized that.
I think so too.
So Necro Player coming in with a steel chair. Thank you, Necro Player. As much as I miss the power of belief, he says, the new lore makes more sense as a creature desperately built to fight undead robot space skeletons bound to star gods that can destroy galaxies. So we did an episode on the War in Heaven. And in that episode, we discussed how the old ones, which are the very first sapient species that we know of in Warhammer 40K, essentially created the Eldari and the Orcs, which are at the time called Krorks, to use as soldiers against the Necrons, which were at the time the Necrontyr and the Satan space gods. So yes, he's right. The Orcs were built by the old ones to fight Necrons and star gods and shit. So it kind of makes a little more sense that the old ones just programmed them to do this. But psychic strength is a part of orc lore. They have strong psychers. They have abilities to link themselves psychically and use that ability, things like that. In fact, when Alexis was talking about what a Waaagh is, Waaghs have they are this big war migration of orcs, that like a crusade, but it is also there, like you can imagine the power of zeal in the Imperium, right? Like the idea, the belief in what you're in your cause, that is part of what a Waaagh is, and that is powered by the orcs' gestalt psychic connection. Essentially. So the more orcs there are, the more that energy of the Waaagh is there.
And orcs get crazy powerful when there's enough of them. Like, even to the point of choking out the Emperor.
Stephen Lucas says, War of the Beast and Wars of Armageddon. You know the orcs are coming as Andrew WK Ready to Die slowly grows louder. I'm guessing that's a song. I don't know.
It is. It's a great song, too.
Is it? Okay, I'll have to check that out. Pants are browning, Bango. All right. Are you Australian, Stephen Lucas? Because I want to say Bango sounds very Australian to me, but it's super cool.
I also saw this comment earlier. I didn't address it, but since you just stated it out, that animation is brutal. I loved it. It was so good. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to do a review for it on my channel maybe if I wake up in time to do one, because doing the editing and shit takes forever. But yeah.
So Wazdaka, though, Wazdaka is not just an orc. He's also a Mekboy.
Yep.
What is a Mekboy?
So a Mekboy has innate knowledge on technology. They know how to deconstruct and reconstruct every species technology. Sort of.
It's instinctual. It's built into their genetics, but they are the orc equivalent of an engineer or a mechanic. They're the tech savvy orcs.
Now, mechanics are extremely important in orc culture because without them, they...
Mechaniacs,
yeah, that is their older name. But they come in two different varieties, big mechs and mechs. Mechs are just mechs. They're just the lower, smaller boys that are building stuff. A big mech is usually their leader, and he's bigger than them. I know some deep lore here. If you're bigger in orc society, you're stronger and more important, just like in the Imperials. Anyway, big mechs, or mechs in this case, are responsible for building, advancing, and getting the fleet off the ground. They are the ones that are responsible for all the ammunition, all of the different weapons, all of the uh, they don't use oil, but they do use promethium on occasion.
It depends. I mean, there's
Yeah,
oil squigs, so
yeah,
they do. It depends.
yeah. But they're the ones building the Waaagh, like all the tech for the Waaagh itself, and they are the ones that are typically in charge of building new battle wagons for their commanders, building new starships for their commanders. And typically, a big mech or a mech will never be to the size of a war boss, because at some point, big mechs will get too big for their britches, and they'll be like, "Well, I built this big giant wagon. It's mine now." And then the war boss will come by and just be like, "Nope, punch, kill. All right, who's the next biggest? You're in charge."
There are such things as mech bosses, but they're very rare.
Hmm.
In fact, Wazdaka, the guy we're talking about today, he is unique in many ways, but he is technically a war boss and a mech boy, but he is not a mech boss. He's what's called a bike boss.
Yep. Or a speed boss.
Or a speed boss. So Mekboys, their whole thing is they build and repair orc vehicles. They make weapons and weird devices like force fields or shock sticks. They're vital to the speed freaks, which is a particular subculture of orc, or subfaction of the orc culture that we will talk about, because the speed freaks rely on machines and custom gear to keep their Daka, their gunfire going. So even if it looks half exploded, even if it looks half exploded or slapped together, Mekboys can build it, fix it, maintain it, repair it. And
there are even instances where vehicles have had their entire engine blocks blown out by las cannons, only for a mech boy to slap like some rusted metal on there and a few other bits and bobs, and that tank being pushed right back out onto the battlefield, maybe even with a fresh coat of paint.
so the short version is Mekboys are basically orc tinkerers and mad engineers is the best way to think of them. Yep. So Wazdaka is a war boss, but he's also a mech boy, and he's also part of the cult of speed, or the speed freaks. So we should talk about them.
Yeah, the speed freaks. They are inherently all about going as fast as they possibly can. They will be using things like war bikes, the orc equivalent of a motorcycle, which is this cobbled together pile of motorcycle that spews so much smoke and bullets that it covers itself, so you don't know where to shoot in the smoke cloud. This is an actual rule that they had for a very long time. They would actually run ahead of orc armies, and they would use these plumes of smoke to allow the orcs to get closer. The only problem was the orcs didn't know where they were going, so they would just keep following them, and if the speed freaks just drove in a random direction because they started racing each other, the Waaagh just kind of moved towards it. Now, what if I told you that the biker boys are actually considered the slower boys? What if I told you there was something faster? You want something more killy than more killy than a war bike, faster than a raging squig? You get yourself a Deathcopter. A Deathcopter is the answer that the orcs needed for the Eldar speed. These things are cobbled together aircraft, in quotes. They're skimmers for the most part that are built similar to helicopters that go extremely fast and sometimes go the direction that the orcs want them to. And then they fire a whole bunch of missiles or bullets and drop bombs from them. Sometimes they just drop all of it at once and crash into you and blow up.
Speed freaks, it's a subculture of orcs that are utterly obsessed with speed and mobility. They form what are called cults of speed. You'll see I have speed cultist on my name down there. They form cults of speed, and the cults of speed Well, they ride fast ramshackle vehicles into battle. Anything that is light and fast. So typically Defcoptas, like Alexis is saying, war bikes, war buggies.
War buggies.
Yeah, I mean, trucks can do it.
Boys.
I mean, Storm Boys are not a part of the Cult of Speed. They have their own thing.
Yeah, they're weird.
They have their own thing.
Oh, we forgot about the most famous orc speed freak unit. The what the hell is it called? The giant helicopter that they have. Oh my god, I forgot its name.
Why don't you look that up? I'll keep talking about speed freaks.
Oh my god.
So they
I had its name and it vanished from my brain.
The speed freaks are most closely associated with the clan called the Evil Sons. But, and this is really important, the Evil Sons clan and the speed freaks are not interchangeable. Because speed freaks will, the Cult of Speed and speed freaks, they will accept orcs from all different clans, and all different subtypes of orcs are welcome. So you could have a Cult of Speed that is not just Evil Sons and has lots of other guys in it, but you might also find a Cult of Speed that is just the Evil Sons. And again, the Evil Sons clan is the one most associated with speed freaks and moving fast. So just keep in mind they are very similar. There's a lot of overlap on the Venn diagram, but they are not exactly the same.
I found out what it's called.
What is it?
It's called the Chinork.
The Chinork.
Yeah, it's a propeller transport helicopter that the orcs have. Now, if you want puns, orcs are right there for you. All of their vehicles and all of their names are usually puns or a version of something, which is always fun.
So why do they call them speed freaks? Because they have become addicted to the sensation of speed. It is called the cult, but I want to be clear, they don't. The lore doesn't really suggest that they're worshiping speed or anything like that. They're not actually out there in robes chanting and praying to shrines or anything like that. They are more. It's more about this obsession they have with going super really, really, really fast. And
I always viewed it as the Imperium views it as a cult, but the orcs don't because they don't know what a cult is.
Well, I mean, the war boys from Mad Max Fury Road are not too dissimilar from speed freaks.
Yeah, exactly.
In that they have, the Witness Me and the V8, emblems, things they do, which I, by the way, love war boys. They're so cool. But orcs and war boys are not that different, especially the Cult of Speed. They're petrol heads. They're thrill riders. They are the Mad Max version of orcs.
They also have the the Daka jets, the Wesbomb blasters, the orc fighters.
They got a dragster car as well. Yeah, they have lots of different vehicles. But the point,
shock jump dragster.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what shock jump dragster. So the Cult of Speed is not really a formal organization. So I'm trying to get across. They whenever they get together and form a Cult of Speed, though, usually this becomes insane races that double as lethal battles, where the line between sport and war is basically non-existent. They will shoot and kill and fight because that's what orcs love to do. They love to shoot, kill, and fight. But they will also go extremely fast and usually crash into the enemy as part of their action.
There is a really funny story in the what the hell planet was that where Abaddon fought he fought Kulgur and killed Kulgur, and Kulgur had to go through the transformation into a Primaris. The Nexus, not the Pariah Nexus. Oh my god, I cannot remember the name of this place. But on one of the planets, there was a hive city that was being assaulted by the Cult of Speed. Okay? And the Gene Stealer cult was trying to assault it at the same time. Vigilus, thank you. It's Vigilus Ablaze that this takes place in. Thank you. Thank you, chat. You always got my back. But on Vigilus, they were trying to attack a hive city, but the hive city activated its void shield. And the Cult of Speed couldn't get through. But then they noticed the Gene Stealer cult dirt cycles. And they're just like, puny bikes. They're so slow. And then they noticed all the other vehicles that the Gene Stealer cult had. And they originally started fighting each other. But then they started racing.
It turned into an impromptu race.
It turned into them just racing around the hive city and killing each other. And the best part of this whole story is, like, there were multiple armies at war, and then there was just the Gene Stealers and the orcs just having the time of their life.
Well, I don't imagine the G-Stars actually enjoyed it nearly
No,
as much as the orcs did.
they actively took part in it. So I want to say that they did, because we do know that the Hive Fleet Tyranids have a preferred motorcycle. They prefer dirt bikes over anything else. And the reason we know that is because Gene Stealers prefer the dirt cycle and they're Tyranids.
Well,
all the programming of the Tyranids.
yeah, that's a reach in my opinion. I think that
when
just the
it's
bikes are the
reabsorbed,
models.
I'm just imagining somewhere there's a Hive Tyrant riding a motorcycle. Just be like, this is cool.
It'd have to be a damn big motorcycle, but yeah. So we should talk about the Siege of Scalex VI, because that's one of the major engagements with Wazdaka. It is an Orc v Adeptus Mechanicus engagement, and it took place on, of course, Scalex VI, which is the name of the battle place, which is it's either a Forge World or a heavily industrialized Mechanicus integrated planet. We're not entirely sure.
You just flip a coin on that one. It depends who writes it.
So it was invaded by Orc warlord Wazdaka Gutsmek. And this is a key moment in his rise to power, because he had just started his own Waaagh. And it was nearly stopped dead in his tracks by the Adeptus Mechanicus and the Imperial forces. But instead, this is where it turned into a proving ground for his ingenuity. Okay. So Wazdaka is, again, he's a bike boss instead of a war boss. He rides a motorcycle and is a war boss, which is just unusual, but there you go.
Thing ever.
It's cool. It's cool. I imagine all of his knobs probably ride bikes too. I don't know.
Yeah, they do. His personal knob entourage all ride motorcycles.
And in this battle during the siege, he took down a warlord class Titan in a dramatic physics-defying charge, often described as ramping off a mesa and crashing through the Titan's side. And then he stripped the skulls of the Titan crew as trophies for his bike.
Now, I want people to get an idea of what a warlord Titan is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not, well, I mean, in terms of giant robots, it is technically small, but it's not small by Warhammer standards. So you see this guy over here. Yeah, this guy. That's a warhound. That thing's about the size of like 3 to 4 stories, depending on the lore. Then you got the Reaver over here, and the Reaver's pretty tall. And then this gigantic thing with all of these anti-everything weapons. Yeah, Wazdaka crashed into that.
I crashed through it, apparently, like rocket cycled in some sort. He rocket cycled so hard he smashed through it, which that is incredibly. It's to say it's unlikely is a highly understatement.
Look, he did it for the family.
He's Vin Diesel as an orc. Oh, now I can't unsee that.
Just wait, he gets bald later on. Makes it even better.
So defeating this warlord Titan was the climactic moment of the siege of Scalex VI, and Scalex VI then fell to the orcs. It became a manufacturing hub for Wazdaka and his Waaagh. And he it's all that. That's where all of his projects come from, is Scalex VI.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we know about that, which is again a big part of like his backstory.
We do have a super chat real quick.
Oh yeah, Iceveins88, thank you, sir. Yep. Do you think Wazdaka will be one of the first legendary lords in the future 40k Total War, or would he be better suited as a legendary hero?
I honestly think I could see him as a legendary hero, but a lord might be on the table.
So I've played a lot of Total War, and I think he could. So in my head, he would operate a lot like Grom the Paunch, like he would be a lord, but it's a highly mobile lord, and he gets all of his benefits from being mobile, from running around the table. So I would imagine he would play very similar to Grom the Paunch as a lord. As a hero, no, I think he's a boss. I don't feel like he would be. I mean, it's not impossible. They've put leader type characters as heroes And oddly enough, they had Gotrek as a like an army lord, which that was so strange. I was like, what? That's not what Gotrek does. But anyway,
yeah. Good question, though.
Yeah, good,
Really
very
good
good.
question.
So Wazdaka, he's a war biker. He's a mech boy. He's widely regarded as the greatest orc biker ever encountered by the Imperium. And he started out life as a sort of unremarkable Evil Sun's mechaniac. And then he found the Cult of Speed, and he was like, "Oh my god, oh, this is my thing." And once he joined the Cult of Speed, he was basically cast out of his tribe. He became a lone wolf biker. This is his 4th edition codex entry right here.
Yep.
In the old days, his bike was called the Bike of the Apocalypse, which
What
is a really
fantastic name.
Which is really cool. Currently, it's called Big Reva, which I don't know. I don't think that's an improvement.
No,
but
that's a downgrade.
It was heavily customized. This version was armed with what's called a Daka cannon, but the new version is armed with a Psycho Gatler, which is a gun capable of destroying armored vehicles. It's something that is found, Alexis tells me, is found on Gorkanauts.
It's found on Gorka or Morkanauts, and it's also one of the weapons on a Stampa. Granted,
Right.
those are larger versions of it, but still he has one of them on his bike, which is kind of crazy. And I actually did bring up his 4th edition rules as well. I just love this artwork because if you look at it, the skulls on the back are on fire.
They are. They're literally on fire.
This artwork from 4th and 5th edition is what got me into 40K. It's so metal. It's so 40K in my opinion, and it's great. I love this thing.
Yeah, this is 4th edition, and back then, of course, is when they had the 5-up invulnerable save from all the pollution. Yep. Their bikes, all the exhaust that they put out. The Psycho Gatler. God, it's such. I can't even find what is a Psycho Gatler. I'm trying to find out.
So a Psycho Gatler is a weapon that fires extremely fast? Weird rounds, but it fires extremely fast, and it just empties its entire ammunition thing as quickly as possible. In fact, we actually see something cool on the back of the bike because as we look at it, he actually has 2 drum mags to refill his Psycho Gatler as it fires. So it is firing a continuous amount of bullets. So this thing's probably going to have 6 to 10 shots, maybe even 12. And they're going to be probably around strength 6 to 7 is what I'm guessing.
It's so the ammunition of a Psycho Gatla is tuned to the orc psychic field, and the bullets seem to warp or twist space, is what I'm reading here, giving it a crazed, unstable feel, which is very common. That's exactly in character for Wazdaka.
Now, Ross, remember, that's not the power of belief. That's the new version of power of belief.
So it's clearly some kind of psychic or psi adjacent weapon, and he's got a power claw as well, so he can fight very well close combat. He shoots really, really fast. He shoots. I would imagine it's more anti-infantry than anti-vehicle, but it's capable of destroying vehicles.
So weirdly enough, he's actually very good at destroying vehicles. He's always I will take a moment once we're done talking about some of the cooler stuff he's done, which that is the only cool thing he's done, unfortunately, is take down a warlord. We will talk about why that is significant. We're going to talk about the warlord titan in this episode, not too deep into warlords, but what makes that specific feat actually insanely incredible. But I do want to take a moment at some point during this to actually talk about all of the war gear that we can see on him and on his older model. And I do want to do some reading in some orky stuff so that we can have some fun with this as well. But we do have some super chats first.
We do. And
we both clicked it.
Steven Lucas says met banjo. Pitch. So when he said bango, he meant banjo. That's why I was like, I don't understand. Song means a vampire in red. Trench coat is taking a walk in your zip code, or a green tide. That's why Blood Angel's in the starter box. Okay.
I'm
you lost me. You
I'm
lost
not gonna
me.
lie, that just turned into like hieroglyphics at the end.
I'm sorry, I don't get it. But that's really cool. Ricky Chapman says Wazdaka, Ufthak, Blackhawk, and a few other orcs have taken down Titans solo. It's a hell of a thing to see.
Yep.
Okay, interesting. I didn't know this was a trope. Was orcs taking down warlords?
Yeah, orcs, like even in their books, orcs take down knights and titans like they're nothing. I shouldn't say like they're nothing. But it is kind of funny that it keeps happening. Like if I had a nickel for every time it happened, I would have at least 7 nickels, which is way too many.
Right. So he was engaged in a thing called the Race of Burning Wheels on KSAC Prime, a very famous race of orcs. Wazdaka was accused of cheating and responded by riding through the entire settlement and destroying it, and then riding off alone into the sunset, which is
as one
does. Then there was the siege of Scalex VI. According to the lore, the Void Shield set his bike on fire, which is, I imagine, why the skulls are on fire. Yeah. And crashed into the cockpit somehow. Maybe not the side of the Titan.
So I have a theory on where it crashed into the Titan, because where the head is, there's a compartment behind it. I think it hit the side of the neck and went into the Titan.
That makes sense. And one of the fun facts about Wazdaka is he's rumored to never leave the saddle of his bike except to make repairs. He's supposedly kept permanently awake by a potent cocktail of drugs supplied by outlaw Bad Doc Pain Boys. Bad Doc, Mad Doc. The terminology changes.
No, I think it's actually Mad Doc Rotskin that gives him the thing.
Well, suffice to say, he's rumored to be supplied with a cocktail of drugs by one of their medical guys, which are either Bad Docs or Mad Docs, depending on edition and language. But Pain Boy is also a very common term for orc medics, and these drugs supposedly keep him awake 24/7.
Okay, so this is the spot I think that he crashed into.
Ah, that's cool.
So this is just behind the head of a warlord titan, sorry, and this connects to the neck. And I think he crashed into the neck and crashed into here, and then proceeded to kill everyone.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
and he kept the burning skulls on his bike, although they're definitely not on fire now in the actual model.
No, sadly, which is lame.
He's kind of the orc version of Doom Rider, if you're at all familiar with Doom Rider. So, Wazdaka, what does he want? What's his grand ambition, Alexis?
He wants to make a race across the entire galaxy. He wants to get all of his boys, all the speed freaks, every single one of them, and race across the galaxy.
Yeah.
Which is a good goal, you know? Like, Gosgold wants to create the biggest Waaagh. He wants to create the best race ever.
He wants to cross the entire Milky Way galaxy in one continuous journey. He's currently assembling a Waaagh, or has assembled a Waaagh, maybe, composed entirely of speed freaks for this ambition. And I imagine Armageddon is just a stop on the long ass race journey that he's trying to do. The cannonball run across the grim dark future.
So I managed to track down his 4th edition.
Oh, look at this
here. Now, a lot of you may know that this is written sort of orky. And if somebody wants me to read this all orcified, I will. But
I want you to do it. I want you to, but you could, if someone wants to throw a $10 super chat to hear the most New York accented orc description ever, we would be down for that too.
Just saying.
So there's the Siege of Scalex VI on that page. You can actually see the little the sidebar on it. He had Rules' 2nd edition codex, did he?
Did he?
I think he was just named, like mentioned there. Oh, whoa! Elemental Exposure says, "Do it, do it." We need the little, we need the Emperor. Do it.
All right. I'm gonna try this now. Please forgive me. I'm super dyslexic. So let me. Whoops. What did I click?
That was me. Go ahead.
Okay. I thought I broke it. All right. Wazdaka Gutsmek. The greatest bike boy of them all. Wazdaka Gutsmek sits astride a turbo-powered Hang on, I gotta try to do this in an Orky and New York accent. I'm gonna try my best.
a New York accent, if you will.
Actually, that was the name of my orc warband, was the New Orcas. They had the Warriors. That was the nom.
Nice.
Okay. The greatest bike boy of them all. Wazdaka Gutsmek sat astride a turbo-powered monstrosity that used to be a war bike, but now is something far scarier. Wazdaka had been tinkering with the bike ever since he was a youth. On the desert world of Cossack Prime, there was only one thing that he liked more than stripping down the bike and rebuilding them to his own design, and that was riding them. After winning the race of the burning wheels upon a bike he had cobbled together earlier that morning, Wazdaka fate was set. He was accused of cheating. That's not proper.
That's not
punch
Orky.
People that cheat. And went on a rampage. Wazdaka tore the settlement apart with his heavy bore Daka cannons before riding off in disgust, as one proper boss should. Over the years, Wazdaka became a kind of legendary figure. His sense of dramatic timing was second to none, and his intervention swung many close-fought battles in favor of the orcs. Kept awake by a concoctions of outlawed bad dogs, Wazdaka rarely left the saddle. The only thing, and only to upgrade his bike. There came a time when Wazdaka was no longer content to roam alone, preaching his intent to unite the tribes in an unending Waaagh. Gotta say that right. Gotta be like Waaagh. That started at one end of the galaxy and ended at the other. God, my accent. Wazdaka gained the support of every speed freak he met. Every single one of them. All of them. The ones that didn't clearly wasn't speed freaks. He beat them. Only time will tell whether Wazdaka's mad plans will come to fruition, which is a big word for an orc.
That's a very
But
big word.
high-speed mayhem is certain either way. Now, let's talk about his bike. The bike of the apocalypse. Okay, I am done with that. I'm sorry I couldn't do that in one sitting. Yeah.
You know what? That was entertaining. I do appreciate that. And that's basically all we know about Wazdaka, right? I think we've actually covered like everything that is known about this guy at this point.
I do want to break down some of the orky technology that's on display for Wazdaka, because I like old Wazdaka a lot. He was one of my favorite orc war bosses, and I used to run him. He was a lot of fun. A for effort. Thank you. So Wazdaka was a orc war boss that had plenty of technology at his disposal. He actually had all of it because he was a mech boss. He was also a speed boss, and he was a big boss. Weirdly enough, he's never crossed paths with Gazgo, and now he's going to Armageddon. So this is going to be his first time meeting Gazgo, which is cool. So Wazdaka rides atop the bike of the apocalypse. He carries around mech tools, a slugger, power claw, and a multiple boss poles. He has 3 of them, which means that he's really in charge, and a custom mega blaster and stick bombs, and then has the Daka cannon on his bike. I know I'm saying a bunch of words, but I'm going to explain each and every one of these. I promise.
Those are certainly words.
I know. I feel bad because I say these things, you understand it, and then I realize that our audience is new to 40K, or some of them are, so I want to explain all of this. So the bike of the apocalypse, or the Apocalypse.
Apocalypse, yeah.
Is an orc bike. Sorry. Is an orc bike that is heavily modified with a rocket engine at the back of it and a Wazdakka cannon on the side of it, or on the front mounted to it. The Wazdakka cannon was something that was stolen probably from a battle wagon or something equivalent, where it was a smaller cannon that fired a lot, and the sheer punching power of that cannon would destroy tank treads and then eventually blow through the tank itself on weaker points of the tank. It was strength 8 at the time, and this is really, really powerful for taking down light vehicles or even glancing things like land raiders. So he was very good at killing like lightly armored vehicles all the way up to like predators, but he struggled a bit with like land raiders and Lehman Russes. But that's where his speed came in, and he would go around them and shoot them in weaker points. Or if he's fighting a land raider, he would shoot it in the treads and get away before the las cannons had a chance of cooking him alive. So that's his motorcycle. His motorcycle is extremely fast, potentially can fly. Yeah, this is his older stuff we're talking about right now. I'm going to talk about his new war gear and everything in just a moment. He also had mech tools. Mech tools are a catch-all phrase for a whole bunch of different tools like soldering irons, wrenches, everything that you would need to fix a vehicle. I don't know how to fix a vehicle. I'm not a mech boy, unfortunately. I'm a human woman, you know, complete opposite.
Ouch.
So the Mekboys tools are a whole bunch of things that he could use to repair vehicles. So if he saw like one of his buddies' tanks got blowed up, you know, this thing happens. The tank just suddenly catches fire, either through the enemy shooting or the tank being an orc tank. He can go up to that tank and repair it because he is a mech. He has instinctive knowledge on how to repair vehicles. He carries around a slugga. A slugga is a catch-all term that I honestly think was stolen originally from Star Wars as a slug thrower from Star Wars, which then became the slugga of 40k.
Well, Orc Gretchen have Blasta, Blasta, Blastas.
Yeah.
And I think slugga is just a version of that. It's to show that it's not energy. It's
it's physical ammunition.
Right, yeah.
So a slugga is, think of any type of pistol can be considered a slugga, but a slugga is currently still in the lore built to resemble, or at least try to resemble, a bolt pistol of the Imperium, because they think those weapons are really good. They don't know how to mimic the bolt round of the Astartes or even the Astra Militarum, but they do know how to make a gun work somehow, and they're pretty effective pistols. They have ammunition in them. How much ammunition? Well, that depends. Sometimes a lot, sometimes a little. If it's over 3, that's a lot.
Depends on who built it and out of what.
Now, sluggas are typically not shot at enemies, as funny as that is. They're usually just shot wildly into the air as the orcs come running towards you, because they're too excited for the inevitable fight that they want to get into, that they typically don't use sluggas all too often. But we have noticed in newer iterations of orcs, older iterations of orcs, they would fire their guns wildly up in the air. They wouldn't aim or anything. They would just be like, oh, somewhere over in that direction, and just start firing like crazy. Newer orcs, 7th edition onward orcs, they tend to actually aim their weapons. And we can see this in animations that involve the orcs. They actually do level their weapons and aim them and shoot. It's still just, they're very bad at it. So it's like,
well, they were, I mean, up until last year, where this particular formation called the Daka Mob was released for last year. They kind of dominated the tournament circuit for a while.
Yeah,
because they were crazy good at shooting. Yep. Fortunately, I think they rolled that back, didn't they?
Yeah, they made it more in line of where it should have been.
Because holy moly.
Sluggas are just your standard sidearm. Then you have the Power Claw. Now, when we talked about Yarrick, we actually talked about Power Claws. Power Claws are meant to mimic the Imperial Power Glove, which then would mimic the Power Claw, which would then, orcs are always in a constant escalation with the Imperium. Like if the Imperium has a cool weapon, the orcs want that cool weapon, and then they make it themselves to rival that because they want a good fight. They want to be strong. They want to be seen as strong. They're very egotistical. So the Power Claw is very similar to the Space Marines Power Fist, but the Power Fist uses an energy field to disrupt things as it pushes through with momentum. The Power Claw literally just grabs things and crushes it.
It's got a hydraulic. Yeah, it's more like a hydraulic snipper.
Yep. And sometimes they're even powered from a power pack. Sometimes they're not, and it's actually the orcs just pulling a lever on the inside of them to crush everything. I always found that super amusing that you could see the differences in the technology of orcs as you look at their model kits. You can see which ones were favored by mechs. I really like that, and I love that that's still in today's modeling. So Power Claws, they're essentially your power weapon. They're your anti-everything. They can crush an Astartes. They can rip one right in half. They're really good at punching through vehicles and then getting the orcs stuck there like, oh, crap. Orcs will typically swipe treads with them on vehicles just to stop the vehicle, or try to reach to the hatches and rip them open to kill the crew inside. And then they'll take the tank because that's much better, because then they get a tank. And that's way cooler.
Unless it's slow, in which case
they don't like slow vehicles.
Well, speed freaks don't, as I say. No. Orcs in general are fine taking a tank. Like any orc, take any standard orc boy and he rips open a tank. He's like, oh boy, I got a tank. Take a cult of speed orc boy and he's like, this is kind of slow.
Can we slap a rocket on it? This thing's too slow.
Faster than walking, I guess, but
yeah. The next piece of wargear that Wazdaka uses is called a boss pole. A boss pole, you're never going to believe this. And Ross, I need you to hang on to your seat. All right. It tells you who's the boss. I know. It's crazy.
The boss pole is basically a flagpole. It's like a banner pole. They often will put trophies or glyphs or orc symbols, which are called glyphs, on them. Sometimes flags.
They will put their favored kills on there. And you will see Space Marine helmets are one of their most prized possessions that they will put on boss poles. Tyrannid, like big Tyrannid warrior heads, which honestly, after fighting a whole bunch of warriors in Space Marine 2, is not as impressive. You want a Space Marine there. Like, if you killed a Space Marine, that is something to brag about. And that's why the orcs actually really like fighting Space Marines. It's one of their favorite enemies. Then you got the custom Mega Blaster. Whew, okay, trying to explain this. It is an energy weapon. Whatever the energy weapon happens to be is whatever the orc built at the time. The custom Mega Blaster is a catch-all term for an energy weapon that is specific to a mech. This could be something similar to a melta weapon or a plasma weapon or even a las cannon in terms of what it actually is. But the orcs don't know the proper differences between the three. And they're just like, it's a custom Mega Blaster. I took this Space Marine's laser pointer and put a multi-melta under it and then strapped a gun to the side of it and then put a red dot laser sight that's crooked and somehow I shoot correctly. That's a custom Mega Blaster. And then they have stick bombs. Stick bombs are grenades with a stick on them. They're like the World War I grenades that...
potato mashers.
Yeah. Now, aside from that, he has the bike, and then he has the Daka cannon, and that's pretty much it for 4th edition Wazdaka Gutsmek. That's all the weapons that he uses. He's a very fast, mobile war boss that heavily uses his speed and uses encircling tactics to destroy enemy armor, leaving it for the rest of his boys to kill while he goes after the things that really matter, racing.
Speed.
Now,
yeah,
in the newer edition, the newest model, Wazdaka Gutsmek is on the what is it called? The Big Riva, and it is
Reva. I think Reva.
Big Reva. Sorry, I said Riva. I was thinking Riva Titan when I looked at it. I also pronounced Reaver as Riva, but I personally see the name as a slight downgrade, unfortunately. The Big Reva is a cool name and is definitely more of a modern Mad Max name. It has the Psycho Daka cannon on the front of it, or the Psycho Blaster on the front of it, which is again, rapid fire anti light vehicle weapon that can take down heavy vehicles, again, probably shooting the treads and then eventually shooting the weaker points on the tank to destroy it. But he has a bigger rocket on the back of it, which is way more important because it's bigger and faster, and his bike is painted red now. We don't know what color his bike was previously. It probably was red. And there is a psychological thing amongst the orcs of red goes faster. This could be interpreted as two different things. In the more recent orc lore, red paint typically makes the mechs put a better engine in it, and thus the red makes it go faster. Older lore, red paint literally made it go faster. Like, it didn't even have to have an engine. It would just drive because they believed it worked. The new Wazdaka has a different type of power claw, and it is called a snaggin claw. This claw is a grappling hook power claw, typically used by those on the Death Killer War Trike, which is another big word that I'm throwing at you. A Death Killer War Trike is a tricycle that is driven by, well, I mean, do I have an image of it? No, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't. Sorry. But the Death Killer War Trike is a 3-wheeled motorcycle that is piloted by one orc, and the war boss sits on the back trying to swipe at everything because drive me closer, I'm going to hit them with my claw. And he has a rocket-propelled grappling power claw that he shoots out to grab his enemies and pull them towards him so that he can crush them and kill them. Wazdaka Gutsmek apparently now has that weapon. Makes total sense for him, but he did lose his hair squig, which now he looks more like Vin Diesel.
What's a hair squig? What are squigs?
So squigs are orcoid creatures that appear or are grown out of fungal spores sometimes that the orcs themselves produce. Squigs are a creature that can be trained and have thousands of different variations, like oil squigs, hair squigs, singy squigs, face biter squigs. The most famous of them all, the one that you see on a lot of miniatures, is called the hair squig. Orcs are naturally bald. Like, they don't have body hair at all. But humans have body hair, and humans have cool hair. So orcs wanted that. And they probably had this prior to that with the Eldar having hair and them just not having hair at all. It is just a squig. It is a squig that has long hair that bites onto their scalp, and they're just like, hey, I have hair now. But as we can see with Vin Diesel over here, he kind of lost his hair, gave it up for family.
He does look a little bit like Vin Diesel, I think, in this image.
Yeah, he kind of does.
Which is great. What isn't a squig? Asks Micah. Well, the
tech sometimes.
The tech is not squigs. Orcs and Gretchen and knobs and war bosses, none of those are squigs. Squigs are anything that is orky and organic, but is not an orc or a Gretchen, basically.
Yeah.
So, wow, there's a lot going on here. As I said, we've covered the majority of what we actually know about Wazdaka. Hair is a fantasy thing. I mean,
orcs don't have hair in 40K; they are bald.
Yeah, apparently. According to the lore, hair squigs are the reason you see orcs with hair. It's really just a squig. He's the flagship character for the Cult of Speed, the Speed Freaks, sometimes even the Evil Sons, although again, that's often conflated. So there are some pretty interesting ideas about like the Cult of Speed and the Speed Freaks as well that I could go over. One of my favorites is that there's a speculation that the original orcs, the Krorks, were incredibly fast and aggressive and driven by their desires. And so the need to move and ram and explode things is possibly the most primal orc instinct of them all, which means that the Cult of Speed might actually be like a throwback to the original factions of orcs.
I really like that idea.
so their entire existence of a speed freak is kind of like a high-speed self-destructive pilgrimage towards some ultimate ideal of top speed. It's Maverick talking to Goose on the carrier deck. I feel the need for speed. Those two guys. That's kind of like the origin of all this.
Holy cow, I just found a list of squigs that all have lore. Okay, to go over the sheer amount of squigs that exist. There is an amp squig, a squig that's an amplifier that they put an amplifier in.
There used to be orc rockers. They used to have a whole subculture of guitar guys.
Yep. There's the sploding squig. That squig explodes. Go figure. There's the acid squig. That squig has acid in it. There's the amp squig, as per I mentioned. The attack squig. The attack squig is actually favored by orc war bosses and is typically trained by runt herds and then given to war bosses. And they are pretty, for the most part, faithful companions. They do eat everything else, though, and they will kill everything else. But they're usually pretty loyal to their masters. There's the bag squig, in case you need a bag. There's the bile squig that pukes. There is the bitey squig, not to be confused with the face bitey squig, mind you. This one bites you lightly as you eat it. Oh yes, they're also food for the orcs themselves, as are the orcs for them. The orcoid ecosystem is very weird, as when orcs start adapting to a planet, they start releasing all of this stuff, and then
spores
squigs start popping up, Gretchens, snotlings, and orcs start popping up. So the more orcs, the more they produce, and orcs actually make their own food and have their own currency. Like, orcs have mastered capitalism.
Yeah, because they use teeth as their currency, or teeth as they describe it. Teeth is a form of money for them.
Okay, there's the bomb squig, a squig strapped with bombs that is hilarious because it just runs at the opponent and blows them up. There is the boom squig, not to be confused with the bomb squig. A lot of orcs make this mistake and unfortunately explode because of it. There's the buzzer squig. These are annoying squigs because they buzz around you and then you have to eat them. There's the buzzer squig, which they sting you. There's the buzz squig that's spelled with 2 Z's. And I think this is the alcoholic squig. Let's see. Snack size squig that's good for eating. Let's see. There's the eating squig. That one's good for eating. There's the face eating squig. That squig puts up a fight as you eat it. There's the flesh eater squig. That one is also big and eats you. There's the glow squig, which glows. There's the gob squig, which has a big gob.
There's a targeting squig.
Yep.
That helps you aim.
The growler squig, the hair squig, the herd squig, the oily squig, paint, parasite hunting squig. This one's actually really good because they will use it to eat tyrannid micro ripper swarms so that the orcs can just keep fighting tyrannids. Smasha squigs, these are the big ones that you see in fantasy in 40k. There's the squigons, the spiky squigs, the squig hawk, a bird-like squig. There's the squigosaur, which is more like the mauler squigs from fantasy. The squig pipe, which is a bagpipe. There's the squig shark, because of course there is, if the world is aquatic. The sweb squig, which is a spider. The syringe squig. I don't want to know what that one is. The vampire squig, the word squig, which is a giant worm. And then there's a category of other squigs, which includes the squigoth, the gargantuan squigoth, the colossal squigoth, and the cave squigoth, which are all, for a good chunk of those are from fantasy. So a lot of fantasy stuff is also in 40k in the terms of squigs, which I think is hilarious. Rare Victor sighting.
Hey, Victor. Yeah, the squigs are unusual and bizarre. Also, you mentioned snotlings. Snotlings have also been de-emphasized and backgrounded to the point that they don't appear in codexes since
So
at least it's been at least 15 years, if not longer, since
it's
they've been in a
weird
codex.
because they are mentioned in the codex as ammunition for
The
the
shock attack.
gun.
Yeah, that's no longer true. But
In the newest edition?
I don't think so.
Yeah, because they still shoot like grots and snotlings at enemies.
Probably grots. I'd be interested to see that though, if in the latest codex, if there's a mention of snotlings in it, because I don't think there is.
Check that actually.
Do you have the latest edition? Okay, yeah, look it up while I'm talking about other things, because
Yeah.
that's interesting. I would like to know if snotlings have been around, because
Yeah,
they have not been around for a long time.
Like you mentioned it, and now I'm like, wait, are they in the codex? I'm just gonna check the latest one.
So with Wazdaka in charge of a Waaagh,
They left in 4th edition.
yeah, I think so. That's why that's
that was
part of the reason I brought it up.
Yeah.
So with Wazdaka in charge of a Waaagh, one of the theories that's about his leadership style is that he may be more interested in the rush of speed than the battle itself. But it's important to point out, orcs love to fight, and Wazdaka is no exception. So fighting while racing is the best of both worlds. But I think the question is, if he's leading a Waaagh, is it more about setting the top speed record, or is it more about fighting the enemy? And I would say with Wazdaka, it's probably more about that top speed record.
I would love, hear me out. I would love it if when we got Wazdaka, we also got a release of a new Gene Stealer cultist on a rocket cycle. Give it a name. I don't care. You can just add it to the lore. It's perfectly fine. Okay. Doom Rider. Gotta have our biker boys. And then Samael of the Dark Angels.
Yeah.
I want to see them in a race.
That would be fun. Well, I've been thinking about some ways that Wazdaka could get into a race. But I want to point out the other thing, that the idea about the cult of speed, though, I did say it was not about religion, and it's not, because Gork and Mork are the only gods of the orcs. But you can argue that the sensation of speed, the wind, the noise, the feeling of going faster, the velocity, the physical impact on your body of being, rushing forward. You could argue that those are all ways to spiritually commune with their gods that are similar to, but not exactly like, the rush of combat and pulling the trigger and smashing your enemy's brains out. Because the orcs like to say that their gods are brutal and cunning, or cunning and brutal, and therefore Gork and Mork definitely like fighting. They like war. Maybe speed is just a little bit different of a way to show their worship, or to, again, commune with orkhood or orkiness in a way that is distinctly different from regular battle. I doubt we'll ever get any more information on that. It was just something I thought was a pretty interesting little digression of like the cult of speed and how that all works.
That is one thing that I really want brought back into the lore, is the orc gods. Like, weirdly enough, the orc gods are kind of like the lesser gods of 40k. Like, they have less lore by modern codex now than they ever have. And it's something that's like, the orc gods are talked about as like things, but not as like an actual god. Like the Eldar had actual gods, the Catan were actual gods, the Chaos gods are immaterial gods, and then you have the Emperor, who is debated whether or not is a god, and it's debated by the Eldar. So I would say that puts it pretty high on that list.
Yeah, but so we should have a whole episode on gods in 40k or not.
Yeah, do a tier list of gods.
I want to invite Vera to come on and talk about faith as well, the power of faith, because she's got a lot of really interesting theories on the metaphysics of 40k.
Oh yeah.
But all right, so we know that Wazdaka is going to Armageddon, and we know that it's very likely that Ghazghkull. I'm going to assume that Ghazghkull is going to be involved with the war on Armageddon. Okay.
Yeah, he is going there. We do know that because of 3 different animations actually said that Ghazghkull, in the latest Sister of Battle animation, they flat out have a line from the orcs. This isn't a spoiler or anything. because I'm not going to talk about the sisters in this, but one of the orcs says Ghazghkull is calling his boys to the war world. The war world is strictly Armageddon and no other world.
True.
So we know that Ghazghkull is going back. We potentially know that there are 2 other factions going there. The Grey Knights are there, and so are the World Eaters. And it is the most unified World Eaters that they've ever been going there. Because we know one of the books is Grey Knights versus World Eaters. And then, so I'm interested to see, because like before Yarick was re-announced, I really thought this was going to be the battle of Ghazghkull versus Engron. Now I'm looking at it like, okay, what Space Marine chapters are going there? Are the White Scars going to be there? Because then you have things like the Khan versus Wazdaka could be a really fun fight.
Yeah. That would be sweet as hell. That'd be a race / fight, just so, as would Samael of the Raven Wing, those are the 2 most well-known Space Marine bikers.
Yep. But as far as we know, the Space Marine chapters involved is weirdly not the Space Wolves. It's the Ultramarines, the Blood Angels, and the Salamanders. And the Grey Knights, but I always count the Grey Knights as not Space Marines because they're really different.
They're definitely an edge case when it comes to the Space Marines. But I think, okay, so if Wazdaka is going to Armageddon and he's going to be, Ghazghkull's going to be in charge because he is. So I imagine there'd have to be some sort of deal struck between Ghazghkull and Wazdaka to get him on board. What is Wazdaka going to get? That's my question. What does Wazdaka get for helping Ghazghkull on Armageddon?
Could you imagine if it is Big Reva?
I mean, it might be the bike.
But I can't see like Ghazghkull giving him the bike. Well, it has to be something different.
So Ghazghkull might have some sort of teleporta tech to speed up the journey through the galaxy, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe Ghazghkull frames the battle for Armageddon as a race, and the fastest crew. Yeah, whoever gets there first, I mean, that's a possible way. Ghazghkull wants, I think it's obvious what Ghazghkull wants. He wants Wazdaka as a terrifying, hyper-mobile spearhead to soften up the Imperials. That's what I think he wants. And the Cult of Speed.
I did forget to mention the Black Templar are also there. Somebody's mentioning the White Scars. I'm not sure if the White Scars are there. I didn't see them in anything, but they could be there.
Well, the helmet, the guy did have a White Scars helmet at the con announcement. That might mean nothing, but
yeah,
you never know. Anyway, so I think Ghazghkull wants the Cult of Speed and Wazdaka to be his scouts and his outriders and his vanguard. That's pretty clear. But what does Wazdaka get out of it? Well, maybe Wazdaka gets first choice of loot and fuel before he takes off to his next leg of the journey. Maybe he gets some sort of specific title, like maybe Wazdaka sees Ghazghkull as the prophet of Morkengork and wants him to give him a blessing or a title, bragging rights, something like the fastest fist of Gork or something like that.
Okay, I like that.
Well,
one of my things
okay.
is I think Ghazghkull does need him because Ghazghkull needs something in the desert of Armageddon. And bikes in a desert weirdly work. They usually don't. Only dirt bikes really work there, but sure, why not Harley Davidson style motorcycles? Cool, whatever. We don't need to explain it. It's 40K. They don't need to apply physics there. But Ghazghkull has always had trouble with the wastes because he would either stay there and recoup his losses, or he would, just fight there endlessly. So I could see him using Wazdaka to spearhead that, to get all of that. And in those wastes are the oil fields. So Wazdaka would want the Promethium there. And I could see Ghazghkull just being like, you take that place, you get the Promethium. All yours. But you have to take it and let me land my rocks there so that I can build a fortress there.
That would be the practical side for sure.
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Going back to the idea that Gazgul is the prophet of Gorkamork, and Wazdaka believes that and wants some sort of blessing out of it. Here's how I think Gazgul could frame it. I think Gazgul could say, okay, I want you, he could set some sort of challenge. He could set sort of challenge like destroy the biggest tank, destroy the biggest Titan. But he knows that Wazdaka is going to provide whatever goal he sets. Wazdaka can provide some sort of show-stopping stunt to do it, and that will enhance or keep the Waagh psychic field running. It'll be some kind of big Evil Knievel style event that gets everybody going, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's what Gazgul's trying to get out of it as well, is some sort of enhancement of the Waagh. I don't think Wazdaka cares too much about Armageddon as it's not impersonal to him, but getting that anointment by the prophet, that could be valuable, because that could enhance his status amongst the cults of speed and get more followers for his race.
I fully agree with that. I also think that Wazdaka might want the manufactorums, or at least to get to the manufactorums to get more cycles built.
Why not? More is always better.
Yeah. I would like to see, all right, hear me out on this. Wazdaka not listen to Gazgul.
Probably will. He's very likely to go off and do his own thing. Very likely.
What if it's direct confrontation? Like flat out saying, no, I'm doing this.
I don't think Gazgul would stand for that.
No, he wouldn't. But it would be really cool to see orc politics of two war bosses, one being the warlord and one being like a rebel biker. Makes total sense for him to do it.
Possibly.
But we do know that he does it for the family.
Alternatively, maybe what Gazgul promises is some sort of fleet of ships to travel through space, or a what do they call them? Super heavy vehicle for Wazdaka to ride, although that would be too slow, probably.
Yeah, that would be too slow for him.
Yeah, I feel like none of that is really. This feels like the furthest edge of like what is possible.
It is an interesting thought, though. Like, what does he get out of it aside from a really, really good fight? Because war bosses think of two different things. They think of the greatest fight ever. They want to be there for that fight, but they also think of how it could benefit them. So if he goes there and sacrifices all of his guys to like take a couple of inches off the guard, what did he really gain? Like, even Gazgul left Armageddon once he lost too much.
Yeah. Well, he's claimed he had a vision for Gorkamork. So.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Eldred told him to go somewhere else. Hey, Gazgul, you did enough. You can go to this world now. Oh, okay. I am the prophet.
So some fun things I'd love to see Wazdaka get involved in that are not Armageddon. I'd love to see him get involved in a Necron Tomb World. Something like where he is just using his momentum and his belief in his own, ability as the fastest orc to smash all the beacons and temporal anchors and disrupt the entire Necron resurrection system before the main horde can even be activated.
That is stupid funny, and I love it.
That would be hilarious to just have him just driving around at relativistic speed on a fucking Necron Tomb World.
I'm just imagining like an orc Necron Lord gets defeated by him, and he's just like, I'll be back, teleports back, and sees him in the tomb after he finished teleporting, like, uh-oh.
I'd actually love to see him go to Cormorag and race against the Dark Eldar Reaver jet bikes, because those guys are supposed to be super acrobatic and show-offy, and the webway would be a great way to get across the galaxy. I'm just saying.
He races against the Jagatai Khan.
Yeah, finds him in there. Wow. Oh my God. That would be the coolest thing ever, would be for Wazdaka to race, find Jagatai Khan and race him on a bike out of the webway back into the real world. Holy shit, that would be
now,
amazing.
who do you want him to race more? Jagatai Khan or Doom Rider?
Doom Rider for sure, but there are other things he could race. There's the same Han Wild Riders, which is a really that's a fun thing to do that you could have them show up. Maybe some sort of hollowed out ring worlds as like a racetrack where the same Han are training their youths on the jet bikes, and he just crashes into that. Possibly. My favorite is the Tau Piranhas, which are those little jet bikes that have a guy and an outrider on the back, and they fly. You remember those? Those are super cool. I'd love to see him get involved with the Tau and pull off some sort of weird, trench race like the Death Star, where he's where he's riding around through all these labyrinthine canyons, and the Tau Piranhas are trying to keep track of him. The Tau are far more interested in shooting. Whereas, Wazdaka is like, I just want to race. I just want to get to the end.
They can't even catch up.
The Eternal Crusader says the orcs have named the Cicatrix maledictum Mork's Grin, and Wazdaka wants to cross it. Gazgul has some teleporter tech that Wazdaka will get in return for messing up Armageddon. Yeah, that's what we're thinking. Yeah, that was the first thing I said was that
I thought it was Gork's Grin. I guess it doesn't matter. I'm assuming that's interchangeable.
With the orcs, it almost always is interchangeable between Gork and Mork.
Yep.
So I imagine the teleporter tech would be that's how it happens.
Does he not have it because they have the shock jump dragsters?
Who knows, man? It's if you're teleporting across the rift, maybe that's different. Maybe it's not about teleporters, or maybe it is about teleporters, but it's also about a route across the rift, because there's only a few places to cross over.
I could see it. Sorry, my bad. I haven't been sleeping well. But I could see that maybe it's actually Wazdaka that's leading Gazgul to Armageddon because of a better path through. Maybe that's what Wazdaka has been doing.
Maybe. Well, I mean, but that doesn't fit his goal of crossing. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's possible. We don't know enough. Frankly, we just don't know enough about Wazdaka and what's going on with him. But
yeah, he's a relatively unknown character that got brought back. Like, it's kind of crazy. Out of all of the orc characters, like, I really thought we'd get Orcamedes before we got Wazdaka.
Orcamedes never had rules, though, so there's that.
That is true.
Did you find out if Snotlings are the ammo for shock attack guns anymore?
The last entry is in 4th edition.
For shock attack guns or for Snotlings?
No, for Snotlings. Just
mentioned. Right, but that's I wonder if there's still ammo for shock attack guns in the latest edition.
They might have some kind of mention, but I don't have the latest edition of Orcs.
I do. I'll look it up while you chat about like what are some other things you'd like to see Wazdaka race.
So that's the thing, like, there are no good bike characters that are really too relevant aside from the White Scar character, whose name I can't remember. I really should know.
Corsaro Khan?
No, Corsaro Khan is the one on foot, which is the one I always think of. Jagatai Khan is the Primarch.
Right.
And then there's, hang on, I gotta find this. It might be Corsaro Khan. What is his name? Subudin Khan?
Oh, okay. All right.
He's a sub.
Subutai, probably.
Yeah. Subudin Khan?
Subodin Khan, okay. Huh.
Yeah. He's got a spear, which is pretty cool. Like, I guess it could be this guy. Here, I'll put it up on the chat.
So it turns out I don't have the current edition of Orcs, which is
how dare you lie to us?
I know. I thought I did.
Betrayed. That's it. I'm getting the Orcs. Subodin Khan.
Subodin. Yeah, it would be pronounced that way.
Yeah. Or we're both pronouncing it wrong because we don't know Mongolian languages.
I mean, I'm guessing. I believe it is pronounced Subodin. I could be wrong.
But yeah, this guy also came out of nowhere. And if you look at the front of his jet bike, he has a very similar weapon to
Wazdaka. Yeah, he's got the same similar gun. Yeah.
It's a very, very similar gun. So I could see these two racing each other. Also, there's a really cool thing. If you noticed, you can remove the explosion from the jet bike.
Oh, you sure can.
Yeah,
you sure can
on this version.
Yeah. Biofoot, our local fishman enthusiast, thank you for your super chat. He says Wazdaka must seek his next race under the sea.
Against fishermen.
So yes, I would really like to see him race the Wild Riders of Samehan because they just don't get any love at all.
Yeah, they've kind of been gone for years at this point.
That would be super fun. I'd love to see him race Samael.
Yeah.
The Eternal Crusader says, I fully expect to be getting 3-man squads of grav bikers. What are the grav bikers?
You want them so badly. So do I. Everyone wants them, but we have our ones on tires.
What are the grav bikers? What are the grav bikers?
This. Because this is a grav bike.
Oh, that. Oh, is he the only one that's got one of those?
He's one of 2 characters with a grav bike.
I thought that was a jet bike. Okay, who's the other guy?
Well, he has a grav bike. Samael has a jet bike.
Yeah, I'm confused. Yeah. I'm so confused right now.
But what this person, what Eternal Crusader is saying is that they want a 3-man unit of grav bikes by September or October. I have a strong feeling that we're probably not getting that. I think the new grav vehicle is actually just a smaller land speeder because we saw that in the trailer. But yeah. So I kind of wish the Dark Angels were involved in the War of Armageddon, but it doesn't look like they are. So that means we're probably getting Saboden Khan to
if it's White Scars, yeah.
Yeah, to race him. But I would also really, really, really like some, Slanesh bikes. That could be cool, like Emperor's Children bikes, because gods know that Codex needs actual entries in it. So everyone's not taking the same thing.
The Leagues of Votan have Magna Coil grav bikes.
Yep, they have tricycles.
Yeah, so apparently the only named character that I know of is riding a grav bike is Subaden Khan. But the Votan Hernkin Pioneers have grav bikes.
The Heartkin Pioneers, yeah, they have grav bikes.
That's the first time I've ever heard of it as a grav bike instead of a jet bike. So
yeah,
that's interesting.
That's the way they kind of got around Samael having the only jet bike.
Okay.
Because it's not anti-grav, it's a jet bike. Well,
the grav bike is clearly a call invention, right? That's a Belisarius call build. So yeah, I'm kind of curious how that's going to work out. But yeah, racing. So Wazdaka racing through Cormorag would be awesome. Racing through Armageddon against Subaden Khan, or who knows, even some Blood Angel just line speeders or something like that would be cool. The Blood Angels can go fast. They're just not as fast as some of the White Scars.
Yeah, it's very weird that the 2 fastest Space Marine armies in the game are White Scars and Dark Angels.
Specifically the Ravenwing, yeah.
Yeah, because the Ravenwing have the most land speeders, have the most jets. They just have so much. Yeah,
Blood Angels, again, can go fast, just not as fast. But it's pretty cool. I don't know.
Here's a weird question for you. They were asking somebody else, but do orcs breathe?
Of course they do. Yes, they breathe. Yes.
Yeah. I also found out something by reading a Lucas the Trickster book. Orcs have a penis. Don't know why they reproduce asexually, but they do.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
They pee on Lucas the Trickster.
Well, okay, but that isn't excretion does not necessarily require.
No, he mentions their penis.
Dear God, how is this my life?
Yeah. Deep lore with Alexis.
As proven by this one novel where they pee on Lucas the Trickster,
which is never mentioned in any
wow. No, it's a squig. It's a squig. I love this. Hana says it's actually a squig. Yes, you know what? That would make a lot of sense.
As long as they're not fungal balloons, I'm okay with it. Because
Oh
that
my
was
god.
hands down the dumbest. And yeah, that was their knobs.
Oh. Oh. Y'all are killing me right now. I just want you to know
Welcome
that.
to Warhammer. Eventually, it all becomes penis jokes.
Well, yeah, so Wazdaka, he might be getting we don't know exactly what he's getting out of Apocalypse, sorry, out of Armageddon. I'll get it right one of these days. We're not sure what he's getting off of Armageddon, but he's getting something. It's probably related to teleporters and getting across the Great Rift, which is cool. But what if Wazdaka ended up racing through the Immaterium itself? What if he got into the warp and was racing? Who would he be racing in the warp? Obviously, he'd be racing Doom Rider.
So Doom Rider's not canonically dead.
Right? Right?
He's still in the material realm. Jagatai Khan has his head still.
Is that his head, or is that? I mean, and again, if he's a demon prince of Slanesh, which he is, according to the last entry we have for him,
probably just blink and just
I mean, getting decapitated is not necessarily the end.
Also, is Jagatai Khan still alive?
He was last seen entering the webway. So
no, sorry, not Jagatai. Oh my god, what the hell was the former captain?
Corsaro Khan?
Oh my god, hang on, I gotta find the Khan's name that I'm thinking of.
we're gonna look up every single guy in the White Scars eventually.
Yep, I'm gonna do this. It's gonna happen. Not Jagatai Khan, but it's let me just look up Doom Rider.
Corsaro Khan has confronted Doom Rider and has taken his head.
Okay, so it's Corsaro Khan.
It's Corsaro Khan. Yeah, that's the first one I said, by the way. It's Corsaro Khan.
Yeah, but it's funnier not to believe you.
and Doom Rider is a recurring enemy of the White Scars. But that all aside, he would be the one to race Wazdaka if Wazdaka entered the webway, or not the webway, the warp.
So Corsaro Khan does not conveniently have his head anymore.
That's true.
Unless this is his head, but that's not his head.
That doesn't look right.
No. So I'm just saying it could be Doom Rider.
It was actually, he defeated Doom Rider and took his head in an audio trauma. So that is secondary lore at best, to be clear. Yeah. Secondary canon, I should say. But can you imagine Doom Rider and Wazdaka racing through the warp? Because in the warp, you can have echoes of the greatest battlefields, the greatest racetracks ever imagined or believed. So you could have them racing across a warp strewn desert full of all the pieces and parts of where the vortex weapons and Eldar warp cannons transport stuff. Just like a weird ass junkyard that goes on forever.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine Wazdaka racing through the infinity maze of Tzeentch?
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Make it the infinity maze.
And then he wins. He crosses the finish line and Tzeentch is just like, fuck, how?
But yeah, Doom Rider racing him. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to take part in any of the defined reaches of the warp, but it could.
Hear me out. Okay. All right. What if the coming of Doom Rider brings back Gorka Morka? So for those of you that don't know, Gorka Morka was a really, really, really fun narrative style battle game where you played as mostly orcs battling each other on Gorka Morka, which was a planet, or the other planets that were also mentioned in Gorka Morka. You could play things like Diganobs, which were guys that painted themselves green and emulated the orcs. There were so many unique orc vehicles in this game, and a lot of it boiled down to racing each other around like scrap towns and things. And the rules for it were super funny because if you were transporting orcs in Gorka Morka, you had to physically put the models on the model itself, and if they fell off, they died. It was great. So I could see them bringing back something similar to Gorka Morka, or at least a rule book for it. That would be really cool.
Well,
or a new style of play. Sorry, I cut you off.
It's fine. Go ahead.
All right, I'm going to continue then.
Yeah, please do.
Sorry. But a new style of play. There was this style of playing back in the day. I think it was like 5th or 6th edition. I think it was 5th, where to represent the speed at which your units were moving, you would you would have your table, okay, your 6x4, because at the time it was a 6x4, and you would both be on the short table edge, and your whole goal was to get to the other side of the board. Now, all of your movement was halved, okay, to represent how far you were going. All right. And then every battle round, terrain would move 6 inches towards you. So if you're on the short table edge, the terrain would move to represent that the battlefield is changing because you're racing across it. And then you would put more terrain pieces on a roll of a die on where it would go and how much is D3. So you would have to angle yourselves and be shooting each other, and shots would cause things to go astray. And oh my God, if they brought back that style of gameplay, I would be all over it. That was one of my favorite things in the world. It was Death Race 40K. It was so much fun.
Back in the day, there was a board game from Milton Bradley called Thunder Road, which was a race, and it had multiple boards, and you would place a new board to represent going forward, and anybody who got left behind was dead. So you had to keep up and continually move the board forward, which sounds kind of like that. But I think in a race between Wazdaka and Doom Rider, what you really have is you'd have kind of finesse versus raw, ugly momentum. Because Wazdaka is he's very skilled, but he's still an orc. And he's not necessarily all about the fancy maneuvers. He's probably more about like going really fast and then really, really fast and then maybe slightly turning a little bit. It's kind of how I imagine that would go. So Doom Rider is probably going to be looking for that perfect moment, the way to seduce Wazdaka into the embrace of She Who Thirsts by offering him some sort of sensory overload. But I think Wazdaka would actually probably win because his mad, chaotic orc speed field would just be it's too inelegant for Slaanesh. You know what I mean?
I mean, it wouldn't be the first orc to actually be tempted by a god. If we look at Tuska the Demon Killer, Tuska he went to the fucking Khorne's planet and killed it. And then Khorne was just like, yo, I love this guy. And in the first iteration of the story, like, he keeps resurrecting him and fighting him and resurrecting him and fighting him. And in the latest version, I think, he's in the Brass Citadel fighting at this point, and he's like gigantic, and he's fighting bloodthirsters. And he's not corrupted by Khorne. He's just having the time of his life.
So in a race, go ahead.
I could see Slaanesh trying, and the orc just being like, I don't know what you're saying, but I want to fight him.
Well, I here's my question.
Him in this quiz.
In a race between Doom Rider and Wazdaka, who wins?
Oh, so
in the warp, assuming it's in the warp.
Okay, so they're both coked out meth heads, but Wazdaka would be cut off from his supply. Now, knowing Slaanesh, they would definitely have an endless supply of the stuff that he needs. I'm going to try to say this without getting demonetized. Okay, hear me out. I honestly think it's Wazdaka that takes it, because it's the power of the Waaagh, which is untapped potential versus sensation.
I think Doom Rider gets distracted. I think Doom Rider's too busy trying to, like, again, too busy trying to seduce Wazdaka to Slaanesh and gets distracted, and Wazdaka's like, oh, you keep your eyes on the road, and like blows him away with the Psycho Gatla at the end. drives
Or
through the explosion and jumps off a ramp made out of, an orgy and rides out of the warp. That's how I see it.
My other point to this is as Doom Rider's about to win the race, he gets resummoned to the material plane.
But some cult is like, we summoned the Doom Rider, and he shows up, you sons of bitches, I was this close.
And then Wazdaka's like, ha, classic blunder, getting summoned before you finish the race.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Now, Subidin Khan, being on Armageddon. Oh, God. Rush 21129 says he's distracted by Wazdaka's truck nuts and fuzzy squig dice. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, that's beautiful. God, that's great.
This one's good too.
Professor Shaps, Doom Rider's tried to psych out Wazdaka. Wazdaka smiles because he doesn't even know what psychology is and continues racing. So if Subidin Khan is on Armageddon and they end up clashing between him and Wazdaka, it would probably be, I would like to see this happen somewhere where there's a lot of interesting terrain, something like a hive ruin or mag rails near the industrial manufactorums and stuff like that. That would be really cool because you want like some verticality, because the grav bike can maneuver off the ground, whereas Wazdaka definitely has wheels. He's got rockets too, but he's definitely got wheels, so he's a little more limited in that front. So it would give you a multi-layered chase, because obviously, Korsara Khan's not there to race; he's there to kill Wazdaka. However, I think this is the kind of thing where I actually see Wazdaka could potentially end up respecting his opponent.
I fully agree with that. I really like that. But I can see Wazdaka being a bit smarter. Okay, so the Khan, Subidin Khan is focused on killing him. As they're racing through the manufactorum, those big giant magnets that pick up like a...
Yeah, like in the junkyard.
He shoots one of those, and it like turns and crashes at the side and forces the grab bike to like go rear over. And he's just like, ha, 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 my bike's not magnetized.
Or I'm too fast for magnets. I don't even know how they work.
No, better yet, he's like, magnets. I know exactly how those work. Just keep striving.
And possibly inspired by Ghazghkull and Yarrick's bromance, you could have a moment where Wazdaka has a chance to kill Subidin Khan, but gives it up because he wants to race him again.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. I like this. I'm going with this. So the race is over. Subidin Khan it crashes, falls off his bike, and is tumbling and everything. Gets like impaled, Space Marine damage where whatever happens to him doesn't matter. He's there bleeding out, and Wazdaka comes, and he's just like, he actually gets off his bike to offer him a hand to get him back up so that they can race some more. I could see that. And then Subidin just like crashes against the wall because like his second heart is failing, and he's like, oh shit, everything's going dark because Space Marine biology is trying to keep me alive. And Wazdaka's like, I look forward to racing you again. Boys, don't touch his bike.
Let him keep it. He's gonna need it.
Yeah. It's similar to the scene where when Ghazghkull had Yarrick, could have killed Yarrick. He gave him all of his stuff back and then put him on an Arvis lighter and flew him back. Like, he didn't fly him down, but he let Yarrick go because good enemies are hard to find. A good opponent in a race is hard to find for Wazdaka at this point. So he's not going to let that go. He's going to be like, yeah, boy.
Yeah. The reason why I don't think it'll happen is because it is too closely mirrors Ghazghkull and Yarrick. But it is entertaining to think that they might inspire with their bromance another orc and another imperial guy to try the same thing. And maybe, and the twist is maybe Chris Subadin is like, no, we're not friends. And just like just absolutely just tries to kill him, or maybe even does kill him. Or
well, the only problem that I see with this is Subadin and Jagatai, the Kasaro, their rival is the Tau.
like I said, I'm just I'm spitballing. We're speculating, wildly speculating.
Yeah.
You know why? Because we ran out of lore.
Yeah, because it turns out there's only a paragraph for him.
Wazdaka is the guy who has very little.
It turns out that this is all his lore.
That's it. That's the whole thing.
Yep.
Two Hammer, Two Furious, says Rush 21129. Wazdaka races Subadin Khan for pig slips.
The Fast and the Furious Armageddon drift.
All right, so I'm going to throw this out there for chat as well, and I want to hear your answer, Alexis. So because Wazdaka and the Cult of Speed, that is basically their whole thing, and like we said, he loves to race. One of the things we do know from the little bit of lore is that he hugely loves to race and was pissed off when people suggested that he cheated. What is the most interesting racetrack you could find in the 41st millennium? Would it be a Space Hulk? Okay, well, the Webway is certainly a possibility. Could it be a Space Hulk? Could it be some sort of demon world? Could it be a bizarre assembly line somewhere on Mars? Use your creativity. Think of like the craziest, coolest racetrack you can think of in 40K, and we'll bring it up.
Now, a lot of people are going to say something similar to Mario Kart, but I want to tell you guys that you are children and that I am a proper gamer, and I'm thinking Crash Team Racing, because that game was awesome. And I could see multiple levels being selected for a racing game, which, by the way, there actually is a orc-based racing game that's really fun, and I recommend it. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's a really fun, like, really small game it's just a lot of fun. It's just orcs killing each other. But, Twisted Metal is also good. But if you're a real gamer, you know what Vigilante 8 is, and that would be awesome. But I can see the first racetrack being Armageddon. It has to be.
Right.
That's where
obviously.
he's going.
Obviously,
okay?
Yeah.
Or the first racetrack is the one where he destroyed the Titan, and now on the racetrack there's a jump through the Titan.
Thematically,
yeah,
like a golf, like a damn, what's it? It's putt golf. What is that called?
The word just fucking
I know.
From my brain.
It's like one of those golf courses with like the weird windmills and stuff.
Yeah, but the first racetrack has to be that. The second racetrack would have to be Armageddon. So you're racing through a manufactorum, and there's like hazards where there's like things trying to reach down and grab you because it's a conveyor belt that you're racing on at some points. Basically, giant magnets trying to grab you.
You have just created a 40K racing game. It's Gran Turismo but 40K, and we're now just building the tracks that you're going to be racing on. Although again, it's probably a little bit more Mario Kart.
I wouldn't say Mario Kart.
I know.
Takedown.
Sure. F-Zero, maybe. I don't know. Falcon Punch, get it in there.
Gamers will know what I'm talking about, or they'll think I'm old. But anyway, the third racetrack would have to be the Infinity Circuit, which would be an Eldar Craft World, where Wazdaka misinterpreted what an Infinity Circuit was.
And it's a race.
He just thought it was a
race. Even better if that's Sam Hahn. Even better.
Yeah, it's a Sam Hahn Craft World. The fifth race would have to be the Infinite Maze. And on that, you're actually racing a bunch of disc lords. So they're one of the racers. Just a lord on a disc just racing against you. A Tomb World would have to be one. That could be a lot of fun. Oh my god, you could do so much with this. There's so much potential here.
Sarmelian Bloodweaver says you need nitro squigs. You can drop them in the engine to go faster. A nitro squig would be a really good idea. And we did get a comment here from, I want to say it is, I don't see it anymore, unfortunately. But somebody was talking about, oh, here it is. Found it. Hannah says it's the Outsiders Dyson Sphere would be an interesting place to race.
Oh, yeah.
So for anybody who doesn't know, the Outsider is one of the surviving Satan that is believed to exist in some sort of Dyson Sphere-like prison or tesseract vaults big enough to hold a star god entity. It's essentially a Necron designed prison. At least we think it is. It's very little's known about it, but that's what the deal is there. And we did see that one already.
Instead of turtle shells, you throw squigs. Yes. The Space Marines throw like actual grenades and shit, but the orcs are just throwing squigs. The rocket truck squig buggy is there, just yeah. Oh, the labyrinth on Mars, that's a good one too.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we got another super chat. Elemental Exposure. The final boss of our Orc Cart game would be a 40k Grom the Paunch with his fancy jet-powered chariot. Yeah, that would work.
Yes. But I do want to thank everyone that's giving us super chats and everything. They actually go a really long way to helping us out and keeping this going and keeping us here.
A hive ship. You're racing through the inside of a hive ship.
Oh, I like that.
Like a biological track.
And then you get the hive Terran on a motorcycle.
Well, you'd have like, again, I don't know how to say this without being demonetized, but like, sphincters. You'd have like gates, organic gates you'd have to pass through. Oh my God, that'd be wild.
In the background is just a hive tyrant working on his giant motorcycle.
A corn level with all these like lava jets to launch things into the air, cracked blood-coated wastelands. And there are like corn dragsters. They do exist. Corn vehicles that are like weirdly like race cars. That would be wild.
I'm so down for that.
That would be absolutely so wild. We got let's see here.
An attack moon, yeah.
Congrats, Maze, for Vulcan. Plague Planet. Oh yeah, Plague Planet would actually be really fun too, because that would be more about avoiding hazards, right? Like you'd have a lot of straightaways that would pass through the nastiest parts, but the smart route is to actually go around the disease as much as possible.
One of the hazards is the beast of Nurgle trying to hug you.
Wow.
Man. No, but from what we do know about Wazdaka Gutsmek and the releases for the orcs coming out, well, I can't say we know this for a fact. It's heavily theorized and heavily rumored that orcs are getting new bikes and new mans, mega armored knobs. So, I could see like the new bikes having like some kind of Psychodaka blasters as well, but something smaller than what Wazdaka Gutsmek has. So I'm interested to see what his rules are going to be for the tabletop game. My theory is that he's going to have like movement 14 because he's a jet bike. And by jet bike, I mean literally a motorcycle with a jet on it. Not a... Yeah.
It's a rocket.
Yeah, it's a rocket bike. He's going to have the ability to advance and still shoot, and his unit's probably going to have the ability to advance and still shoot if he's the leader. He's going to be a higher toughness than the boys around him. He's going to have the war boss ability, so he might be able to discount or count as a war boss for the Waaagh, potentially. He's going to have a power claw or a snagging claw, which will help him with a ranged attack, and he has his Dako Blasta, his Psycho Daka Blasta. So he has a lot of potential of being really good at killing one weaker Space Marine unit equivalent, just gunning them down and then charging something else and his boys just wrecking it in combat. We might actually get knobs on bikes if we get him. And I could see a unit of 5 knobs on bikes being a new unit added to Warhammer, because we have had knobs on bikes in the past, but you had to get them through Forge World. And if you guys remember Forge World back in 5th edition, that was a nightmare. Like, if you had Forge World money back in the day, you were considered like an idiot. Like, it wasn't something to brag about. It was something just everyone looked at you and just went, "Are you stupid? Why would you do that? That's so much money. Just buy a Titan if you're going to buy something from Forge World. You bought knobs? Dumb."
So what would you, if something were to happen to the big Reva or the bike of the apocalypse, and he had to replace his vehicle with something else, what would it be?
So he'd want something fast, but we know he likes wheeled vehicles. So he's not going to be using like a land speeder or anything like that.
Not even a Defcopter? I could see him taking up a Defcopter.
I can't see him getting a Defcopter.
Okay.
I think a Defcopter is too slow for him. They are super fast, don't get me wrong, but his bike is faster. I could see him just rebuilding a new bike.
Like, well, it could be a warp jump speed buggy. You know, some sort of like one of those dragster vehicles, like a car. Especially if they're leaning into the Fast and the Furious, it could definitely be a car. It could also be a truck, like a TRU-KK truck. And I would go like full rally racer for this. I might even go, look at some of the designs that are used in like the Baja races in California, and something with balloon tires and a roll cage, but it's definitely a truck.
Yeah.
And
when you said Baja, I thought Baja Blast.
Like Baja California, where the races are. That's an idea, is a possible thing. What about like a Chinook? Too slow? Or a Dakka Jet? Too slow?
So my whole thing is that he wants to be on the ground.
I think you're right. I think
he wants to be as close to the ground as possible. I think if anything, his new bike is going to have some kind of like jump ability where it can go through walls. But yeah, I'm not sure.
All right, hear me out. We already know that the Cult of Speed is kind of Mad Max themed. And we've had Fury Road and Furiosa pretty recently with a lot of wild designs for vehicles. I can imagine something like several buggies or bikes welded together as like a chariot that he was riding. Right. Like something like that. Something like that would be pretty sweet for Wazdaka, or possibly you could even reference the old Orc Rakas and do something like that big ass amp with the guy with the flamethrower guitar on the top of it. That Wazdaka is down there, because that's got style, and style is almost as good as speed. It's not quite as good, but it's almost as good as speed.
Let's see if I can
something super Mad Maxy style would be like the next thing I would think would be a really good idea. The Doofork. The Doofork.
The Doofork is really good.
Yes, the Doofork was the guy with the flaming guitar.
Where is it? Somebody actually did a Mad Max Orc Army a while ago. Yeah, here's a picture of it, and I thought this was absolutely incredible. Let me see.
Ooh, yeah, it's even got there's the Doof wagon right there.
Yep.
And there's
love it.
That's rad. Yeah, that's rad. Big fan.
Let me see if I can find the other ones. There was a lot of really good ones. But yeah, I could definitely see like something like that coming to 40K. That would be so great. But I really think that it's Wazdaka. His bike is him. And that's why I think he should have a rivalry with that's always been my problem with Wazdaka, is that he has no rival.
Well, he doesn't have enough lore to have a rival.
Yeah. But like every bike character has a rival.
I mean, who's Samael's?
Oh, actually, no, not Samael. You could put Samael against him.
You could. The Ravenwing could have their new opponent. And also, I think I would love to see a Tau named biker character with the piranhas. That'd be rad.
Like to see Tau actually get bikes.
So a rival. Let's create a rival for Wazdaka. What species what faction, what vehicle. Go.
Okay, so right off the bat, I don't think it can be Necrons or Tyranids.
Yeah, that
Necrons
makes
simply
sense.
don't have an actual bike that isn't just physically connected to the guy.
It's like a
And
destroyer,
Tyranids just don't, unfortunately. I think as much as I want to say Gene Stealer Cult could do it, I could potentially see it if they had like the Primus on a bike or some type of like saboteur character on a bike. But right now, the only one that we have as a character on bike is the Alphys, I think, and she just has a sniper rifle, so she's not really a racer. So I don't see it as them, unfortunately. It could be a Imperial, but I feel like that's been done too much.
Leagues of Votann. You could do a Votann biker.
Could be, but hear me out on this. It could be Dryer of the Deathcore Krieg on his horse.
No,
But
horses
the
can
horse
keep
is
up
too
with.
small.
No
Yeah,
way
the
a horse
horse
can
is
keep up.
Too slow, I meant. Okay. Because Dryer is a character that has no lore at all, also. Like, he has not even a page. It has, yeah, Dwarves versus Orcs is a classic, and we do need a Leagues of Votann bike character.
That would be, I think the best would be to come up with the Leagues of Votann biker. That would do it, because that would be really cool. You know, something like Scalfar Bane Rider or something like that. You know, the Iron Tributator or some shit. I don't know. You come up with a guy, and he give him he's riding a Magna Coil grav bike with the big handlebars.
Or maybe he's riding something different, like an actual cycle.
I mean, you could. Trikes are very Votann, though, is the thing.
Yeah, trikes are Votann. I think it could be a Votann.
And with
that would give something, you know, they have a lot of characters at the moment, but it does give them something cool.
So a Votann biker you could almost theme that more as not just speed, but also tech, because they're both Mekboys in a way, if you look at it that way. So it could be like it could be almost like, you know, from the old school, this is old even for me, the old school wacky racers, where it's about like the tech and the you know, what you can build into your bike is almost more important than your skill.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking one of these motorcycles for the Votann. God damn it, Reddit. I really don't like Reddit. I don't have a reason for not liking Reddit. I just don't. So these are the Votann. These are the squats on the Necromunda planet bikes. I can see something like this.
Yeah, instead of a graph bike.
Yeah.
Okay.
This could be really cool. Maybe something bigger, like a bigger version of this, for like a oh man, what is it? What are they called?
Here we go. Ken loves AI, so maybe it's an AI bike that talks to him. Yes, the bike is one of their Ironkin. Yes, an Ironkin that is a bike would be so rad that the guy drives.
Oh my god!
Oh my god, that would be the coolest thing ever.
You know, I'm thinking R2D2 in the X-wing.
Oh, I'm thinking. Okay, there's a lot of talking vehicles in the 80s, certainly.
Yeah, Knight Rider,
just for one, and you know, Wheels and Roadie from the Pole Position cartoon and various other things.
What's that one with the talking beetle?
Herbie. Yeah,
Herbie.
Yeah, but that would be pretty insane, would be to have an Ironkin as the vehicle that he's driving. And I love that idea so much. Yes, we desperately need that character. Hey, Games Workshop, if you're listening, go make a Votann character that could be a biker that could race Wazdaka. We are really taking this to the extreme, aren't we?
Better yet, say he's a biker squat from Mars. That is a good reference for people.
If we were going to go Eldari, I would actually do like a Corsair with a Skyrunner and have a Corsair biker who's and because Corsairs can be very flamboyant, they can be extremely proud. So you might have some Corsair, maybe not a captain, maybe he's just like, he's part of the crew of one of the ships, but he's like, I'm the fastest, I'm the best pilot when it comes to speed. There's no one can defeat me. It's pure grace and guile versus, again, pure momentum, because a Corsair pilot would have, like, he'd be trying to lead him into traps, trying to lead him into ambushes, trying to hit and run, stuff, or just it would be very interesting.
He has a pit trap that has a bunch of spikes on it that he just drives through it.
Drives on top of the spikes.
Okay, so I think if we did the Votan one, it has to be a Brokir Ironmaster on a bike, because then it's an actual Mekboy on a bike, or a trike in this case. And I think that could be really cool.
Votan is the best because we need more Votan. I don't think we're going to get anything better than that.
I'm trying to think, and I can't come up with anything that's as good as Votan on bikes for that. And getting a new character out of it would be really cool. And getting a unique character out of it, instead of it being like a Call or an Iron Hero champion or anything like that, just making it a Brokir and then making it a named Brokir that has a bike.
That's also cool. An Iron King.
Yeah. That also has an Iron Kin with them.
Yeah, sure. Or either the Iron Kin's built into the bike, or the bike is the Iron Kin, or it's like you said, it's R2D2. It's a little slot in the back where the Iron Kin just like hangs out. Just sits there. Yeah. Just optimizing stuff as they go.
I can see that.
Yeah. Ken, this was I want to give proper credit. So that was a Michael Texiera is the one that came up with that. So great idea. Good one. Good on you. By the way, if you want to contribute ideas for any of our future episodes, or if you want to talk about other people that Wazdaka could race, or have your little fan fiction about a cool Votan character who has a has an Iron Kin vehicle, come join our Discord. We have a cool Discord where we talk about things that are coming up for Lorebeards, and you can become one of our members, which is called Lore Seekers, and potentially even vote on future shows and things that we do. So that's a great place to come and join us and talk about 40K. Also, if you like, go ahead.
No, sorry, continue. I just thought of something and I'm going to talk about it in a second. Continue.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. So also, if you are enjoying this deep dive into the grimdark of Warhammer 40K, please do us a favor and help spread the heresy of Lorebeards by hitting these subscribe and like buttons, because that will also help us out.
So I saw this comment. All right. And I love this comment. You want
me to read it?
Yes, go ahead.
Nestor Vitumbra says, with Drakari, it's clearly going to be like a Venom or a Raider, with crew members throwing grappling hooks and harpoons at the other racers. It probably wouldn't be legal, but it sure would be fun.
Okay, so hear me out for this one. Okay. Wazdaka is riding. The Raider is struggling to keep up, right? They get the grappling hooks down and they start pulling it up. The bike goes like this. And then he just starts opening fire with his gun and then rocket through the whole thing, killing it and landing and just being like, haha, puny Eldar.
Well, if you want to go full Mad Max and have a Fury Road, like, just, car chase for like 3 hours, Wazdaka and a column of speed freaks trying to get through Cormorag while they're being attacked by reavers and skiffs and all the venoms and things like that. That would be pretty wild. I could write a whole book about that, frankly.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Like, that would be a book I would be sitting there reading the entire thing. I'd be like, yes, keep going.
George Miller does 40K and he does it with this.
Yeah. God, I want to watch Mad Max again now.
Rush says Custodes that has left Terra maybe has something to do with King in Yellow. Okay, I'm not sure what that role. Custodians do have jet bikes though, so
yeah, but custodians don't really have 40K lore. As weird as that is to say,
I mean, they do.
They do, but it's like
more than Wazdaka.
well, yes, yeah, I will give them that, but it's more like, hey, here's some primaries, shut up and take them. Okay, bye.
A race through the Imperial Palace would be pretty sweet though too. You got to admit that would be rad for a racetrack.
Applauding at the end.
Oh, Micah, you're killing me. You're absolutely murdering me. Fury Road is 11 years old. Oh my god.
Shoot your face.
It feels like it was yesterday. Oh my god.
That is a movie that I saw in theaters multiple times. Like, I really enjoyed it.
It was
I got to see that in IMAX, and that was amazing.
It's one of the best films of its ilk. All right.
I would put it in the top 5 movies of all time.
Micah says, I would go for a Master Chief and Cortana relationship, maybe less romantic or maybe as romantic, a guy that loves his bike too much, talking about the rival for
the Brokir and
the Brokir and his Ironkin. The Cortana relationship would be pretty cool. Yeah, to have
I like that actually. I like that a lot.
Here's how I do it.
Blank slate.
Here's how I do it. I'd say the Ironkin is in love with the Brokir, but the Brokir either doesn't reciprocate or is not aware. He's oblivious.
Oh God, you're gonna make him a shonen protagonist.
Yes, I am. We got a super chat from Necro Player. He says, "What if stream suggestion for June? How would the Primarchs react to a person they know coming out as gay and/or trans?"
I don't think any of them would care because Fulgrim existed.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not sure there's enough material there for a what if.
I mean, honestly, we could answer that right now. Like, because it's really quick.
I don't know. I don't expect any of them would really mind that much. It doesn't seem like it's gender seems like something that doesn't really bother the Primarchs.
Yeah, gender and sexuality did, because like
I don't know.
Was openly bisexual. Like that has been confirmed. He has multiple partners, men and women.
And nobody cared. Nobody cared at all.
Yeah. And like, I guess you could say like Lion might care because he's written as a closet homosexual, but I
don't know.
Stretch.
Nothing comes to mind. Let's just put it that way. Nothing immediately comes to mind where I would say they would have any other reaction besides, okay, and now what? You know?
How's your Legion?
Yeah, it's more about.
Oh, wait. Jagatai Khan would make a joke about it.
Probably. Or Lehman Russ
that's
would.
What he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's people that would make a joke, but that's about it.
Yeah. Lehman Russ would be like open and accepting, but still make a joke about it.
Oh, you know who'd throw a party?
Who?
Sanguinius would be like, hey, yeah, that's awesome. They'd just throw a party. They'd be like, everybody come around, check out. Sanguinius, who was beloved by all, he would say, all right, cool. So it's time to celebrate.
Lion would be completely indifferent.
I think Lion would. I think Lion would be like, this is not important to talk about. What's going on? Probably Gilliman too would also be like,
Fulgrim would be cheering.
Yeah, Fulgrim would be like, yeah.
Perturabo would probably just be like, you too. Because he doesn't like Fulgrim.
Yeah.
Or
I guess
anybody.
So. Yeah, it's like another one. Great.
Jagatai would make a.
But it's not about it. Yeah, but with Perturabo, to be clear, it's not about bigotry. It's not about bigotry. He wouldn't be upset. He would be dour and angsty about it rather than anything else. So he's just be like, more Fulgrim. It's like that's the only thing he'd be thinking in his head.
Jagatai
it's not
would
bigotry.
Make a joke about it. Lehman Russ would drink to it. Rogel Dorn would not care.
Magnus, I already knew, according to Sarmelian Bloodweaver. That's very good.
Conrad Kurz would be like, I've already seen the things you do.
Yeah.
Sanguinius would throw a party. Ferrus Manus would lose his head.
Oof.
Angron wouldn't understand it. Actually, no. He's Roman. He'd be like, oh, okay.
Ferrus actually might have a reaction because the flesh is weak.
Yeah.
This is a stretch, okay, but I'm trying to find some sort of reaction that isn't just apathy. And if I'm reaching for something other than apathy, I think Ferrus might be the one who would say, you're focusing too much on flesh, which doesn't matter. That's
Angron,
weakness. He would see it as weakness because you're not focusing on things that he would consider important. Again, it's not bigotry. It would be like, you shouldn't be thinking about that. You should be thinking about something else.
Yeah. Let's see. Angron wouldn't care because Angron is Roman and was surrounded by everything. Reboot Gilliman, same thing. Mortarion would probably not care.
Apathy is by far the most reaction, I think, out of all these guys.
Magnus the Red would already know. Horus Lupercal would just be like, all right, and how's your legion? Logar would probably try to like tell you about Slanesh.
Have you heard about our Lord and Savior Slanesh?
Like Lorgar would be the creepy guy that's like trying to hit on you now that he knows, and that's creepy. Corvus Corax would not be there. And Alfaris and Omegon already knew and both disproved it. One hands the other a $20 bill. There, we did the whole thing.
So Nestor Vertumber says that Custodes may be one of the Emperor's eyes on a Grav surfboard. Extra points for participating in swimsuit, honoring the rogue trader look. Grav boards exist. Grav boards do exist in 40K. The Jacaro famously travel on them.
Yep.
So Grav boards are definitely a thing that could happen.
I did forget Vulcan. Vulcan would congratulate you, hug you, and then murder an Eldar child.
He might make something to honor the occasion.
Yeah.
He might like build you a little cog or something. I don't know.
I am not going to say what I thought.
Yeah. Just he builds you a little something to celebrate. That's the other thing I can think of. All right. Woo. That's wild. Absolutely wild. So there are factions that do not have speedy things. The Necrons we brought up. Tyranids don't
have like the one unit. They have like one unit of jet bikes, and that's it. Let me see if I can find their name because I always forget them because nobody brings them because they're garbage. Let me see if I can find them.
The Eldar have far too many things that travel quickly and are good for racing. The Votan, of course, have their Grav bikes that we mentioned before. The Tau, I love those piranhas. The piranhas would be perfect for a fucking race. Yes. Please, I will do more with the piranhas. Tomb Blades.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. It chat beat me to it. It is the Tomb Blades. They are the equivalent of a jet bike.
Yeah, but they're just they never strike me as being that. I'm sure rules wise they probably are as fast as a regular bike, but they just never strike me as being particularly quick.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you on that.
Necron Wraiths, same deal. So there are factions that don't have a lot of speedy things in them. Sisters of Battle comes to mind.
Oh my God, give Sisters of Battle motorcycles.
Well, a Helena pattern jet bike, perhaps, or something like that. You come up with something new.
Okay, hear me out.
Okay.
All right. Space Marines have Harley Davidson style bikes originally.
Uh-huh.
And then they had the Akira bike, which is really cool because that's what the Outrider bike is. All right, cool. Gene Steel Occult has dirt bikes. Orcs have arguably a hybrid
hog. They have hogs.
Yeah, it is a hog, but it's like a hybrid hog, which is fine. I think Sisters should have like Kawasaki or Ninjas, just straight up street bikes with meltaguns on them, or flamethrowers, or bolters, or all of it.
All right.
That's the fast unit I want them to have.
What would you call them? They would need some sort of churchy name.
I have no idea. I really don't. Chat, help me out. If you could name Sister of Battle bikes, what would you name them?
I mean, you could steal from the drop troops to call them Sisters Elysians or something like that.
Nah, I wouldn't do that. They have to be the bells. Yeah, that could be that could be good.
You could have I don't know. But would a Sister of Battle see speed? Would a Sister of Battle biker, would she see speed as a sin of the senses?
So It really depends because Zephyrim and Seraphim exist,
Right.
and they do use a lot of speed, but they also flagellate themselves afterwards. So it's like, is it a sin if they repent for it?
Well, here's the thing. So Wazdaka's whole thing is that speed is fun, right? It's like this is his I am living my best life. I'm doing the thing that I was born to do. This is fun for me. This is spiritual fulfilling. So the foil you could have with a sister battle biker is that it is a sin, and she's there to punish you for it. She has to catch up to you to do that.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm just saying that is, you know, you bring in the righteousness and the fanatical devotion somewhere. Biofoot 7874 says, "Biker lady nuns, no more evidence is needed."
True. I fully agree with that. But like, weirdly enough, when it comes to the speed freaks, they have a full army roster of super quick and really beautiful models. Like the new Defcopters look really good. I thought all of the airplanes for the orcs are like the coolest models in the world. I've always loved them. The Daka Jet is one of my favorite orc units ever. I miss having my orc army like a lot, but like I might get an orc army again. I don't need an orc army. Damn it, Ross, you're convincing me to get an orc army. I'm blaming you for this, so I don't have to blame myself. But Speed Freaks have a ton of different models with the Chin Orc, the Defcopters, the Psycho Daka Blasters, or sorry, the Blitz Bombers, and all the different aircrafts that all have hilarious names. The bikes, which we might get new kits for, and I'm hoping we do because the old bike is cool looking, but it's dated and there are only boys on it. I want knobs on it. But like I'm just excited for the future of orcs, and I'm questioning what we're going to get in Armageddon, and I'm really hoping it's not just here's a paragraph, it's unfulfilled now.
Equitas Bikers says Rush 21129 to be a good name. Sisterhood Sinners.
That could be good.
The problem with sisters, according to Micah, is that they're all religious fanatics. You don't have enough room you don't have too much room to homebrew, unfortunately. That's true. It could be a Repentia thing, according to Necroplayer. I don't know. We're just wildly guessing here. Elemental Exposure says they could have a biker scout unit called the Hail Marys because you send them deep into enemy territory.
I mean, that is what the oh my god, names Dominions do. So it would be Dominions on bikes, which I always thought would be their unit. The sisters could get ATVs. The Gene Stealer cult has ATVs. I'd want them to have something uniquely theirs.
Well, there's that Mario Kart that the Primaris have. That's also an ATV.
I love that thing.
You like the rules for it.
No, I like the Invader ATV because it's stupid looking.
You like it because it's dumb looking.
Yeah, it's like just dumb enough to be 40K. They get unicycles.
Well, there are cool looking unicycles that exist out there these days. You can see you sit in the middle and it spins around you on the outside.
So,
but
we did see that walking thing. Sorry.
Oh yeah, the orc. Right, the trailer for 11th edition did feature an orc walker of some kind, almost like a sentinel. Is what it kind of reminded me of.
It had the Gatling gun on the front of it that it was shooting down the land speeder with, and it was walking around, and it had some kind of force field around it, which is really cool. It makes me wonder, like, are Killicans gone, or I hope not. So I'm interested to see what that is. I also love the new Weird Boy. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, the Weird Boy sequence was amazing.
Yep. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming out for the orcs, and I'm really curious as to what they're going to do with the orcs in Armageddon. And I'm really hoping this isn't, because they're building up to this. They've been building up to this for a while. And I don't want it to be another story like the 500 Worlds where it's like, Titus is going to do this. And it's like, did he do it? He's going to. And then maybe like 2 editions later, we get an update where it's like, he did it.
Professor Shep says, of the sisters bikes, my suggestion is Ophanim, After the angelic thrones depicted as wheels, also matches the names like Seraphim and Dominions.
Oh, I love that.
Ophanim Bikers would be a good name. I like that. I agree.
Harlequins on unicycles. Our chat is great, and I love it.
Yeah, Tyranids, like in a race, would just teleport, wouldn't they? They would just teleport. Or Necrons would just teleport. They wouldn't.
Yeah, Necrons would just teleport.
Necrons, they wouldn't race. They just teleport.
Yeah, that's the problem with Necrons, is like they just teleport. Let me grab the orcs really quickly and see what we can get. Because there's a ton of different orc vehicles and things that could fall into potentially as the speed freaks. Nothing will still... Oh, here's all the actual names of the orc flyers, because I've been mixing them up. So, sorry, my bad. We have the Burna Bomba, the Blitzabomba, the Daka Jet, the Wesbomb Blasta Jet. That is all of the different orc flyers, and I love every single one of them. Then we have all of the different cars for the speed freaks. We have the Shock Jump Dragsta, which is the teleporting Dragsta style car. Think like Formula One. Then we have the custom Boosta Blasta, which is it's straight up the Hot Wheels car with 2 engines on it.
Oh, that's a fun one. That's a fun one.
Then we have the Mega Track Scrap Jet, which is a jet engine with wheels. And I always thought this thing is funny because it can fly momentarily, and then it crashes into the ground. Then we have the Boomdaka Snazwagon, which is a bunch of redneck orcs throwing Molotovs and squigs at people. And I absolutely love it. Let's see. Are there any other orc vehicles?
All right. So here's a question for you. In the greater orc, faction of Warhammer 40K, is Wazdaka is he a Waaagh level legend, or is he a speed cult phenomenon, or is he just ultimately another biker boss?
So I think he's bigger than being a biker boss. He is like at peak biker boss, speed boss level. And I think he's getting... What I'm hoping for is that he will go to Armageddon to prove himself as the leader of the speed freaks.
Or get that blessing from Gaskell.
Similar to how... what the heck is his name? Hang on, let me try to find him. The sneaky guy.
Snickrot.
Snickrot got his legendary name on Armageddon, where he is like the de facto leader of the sneaky boys.
The commandos, yeah.
Yep. Where every commando aspires to be him.
Yeah. That would be cool. I think he will become an icon. I think that's fair to say. I don't see him vanishing into obscurity. I think his participation in Armageddon is only going to make him more important rather than less. At least I hope so. Ricky Chapman, 3377. Thank you, sir. A giant wheel that the sisters sit in, and the wheel is like a buzzsaw shredding the unfaithful with a melta on the side. Yeah, I'm down.
Weirdly enough, this thing exists in the lore. It's not a sister battle unit. It is actually a Chaos Space Marine unit, and it's the Doom Wheel, and it has 2 las cannons on the side of it, and it actually exists in the lore.
The Doom Wheel is what the Skaven use.
I know. It's also called the Doom Wheel.
No way.
Yeah, it's very dumb.
Where's that from?
I'll try to find it. Well, you talk real quick.
I do not. I am skeptical about this one. So Wazdaka, he is essentially the spiritual leader of the cults of speed. And I don't think they're going to lean into that, because Games Workshop seems to be avoiding, orc religion kind of as a matter of course. But if they were to talk more about speed as sacred, or the cult of speed as a spin-off or split from the standard orc veneration of Gork and Mork, how would that fit in to the greater orc culture? There's already a there's already a clan, the Evil Sons, that are mostly about speed. So it wouldn't be a clan, but it could be. You could make him. I mean, again, I feel like he'd be blessed as a different representation of Gork and Mork, like the Messiah of Motion or something like that.
I could definitely see that. That actually sounds pretty cool.
Now he is a daredevil, right? Like Wazdaka is clearly a daredevil. He likes doing super dangerous shit. He's he's kind of self-destructive in some ways. Is he gonna I feel like his end state is likely to be similar to that of Jagatai Khan, just riding off into the distance on his quest to travel across the galaxy. And when and the next time he leaves the lore for a long period of time, like he did, back in 2004, I imagine it'll be him riding off into the sunset to go try and accomplish that great race around the galaxy.
The Death Wheel.
So
I might have the name wrong.
The escalation is it's really fun to think of Wazdaka as a guy on his way up, a rising star, rather than someone who's had his time and is now past it. Like Yerrick, I mean, in a lot of ways, Yerrick is that guy. Yerrick is the guy who's had his time and is now past it. So I don't know. It's interesting. We got a question from Face Octopus down here.
It is the Death Wheel.
Death Wheel, not Doom Wheel. That makes a big difference. Face Octopus asks, is Speed really Gork and Mork, or should it be affiliated with one more than the other? That's a question that only you can answer, Face Octopus, because Gork is cunning but brutal, and Mork is brutal but cunning.
Mork is more associated with mechs, though. So I would say it's more mech. So I would go with that, where something like Mega Knobs and things like that are more Gork.
Even though Mega Knobs wear high-tech armor.
Yeah. I mean, how high-tech is it? It's literally just a bunch of
It's higher tech than a standard boy's got.
Yes, it is.
So in the eyes of the fandom, so this is really a question for chat. Is Wazdaka a major character or a minor character? I think he's a minor character who has the potential to be a major character.
I am in the same boat as you on that one. I think that he could be a major character, but I really don't want to see him go the way of Harkin World Claimer.
Who?
Yeah. No one knows who that is. Like, literally, somebody was selling his miniature at the bit swap today. There was a big bit swap today, and it was really cool, and I absolutely loved it. And I got a bunch of really cool stuff, and I'm really excited about it. But when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, it's Harkin World Claimer. And he's like, that's just a lord with a jump pack.
He's a Chaos Space Marine Lord of the Black Legion, a Raptor.
Yeah.
The Herald of Abaddon.
And I was like, no, that guy's actually hugely important. And he shows up usually before Abaddon. He was at Nihilus. He was at Vigilus.
He's got a model. Yeah. He's got his own model. Does he have a jump bike too?
No, he has a jump pack.
Right, but I mean, okay, yeah, he's got the Hell Spear.
Yeah, he's like really cool, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's a guy I didn't even know existed until you just mentioned it. So
yeah, isn't that weird?
So that's the epitome of a minor character. Whereas Wazdaka, someone was like, oh, I knew instantly who that was. So he may be more than a minor character, but I don't think he's a major character. But he definitely has the potential to be a major character.
Yeah, he could be in the future. I think that's where he's like, we have to see what this campaign book is going to do. Because I have a feeling it's going to be like the Maelstrom, where it's like all of this stuff is happening, and it's like, cool. Did Huron Blackheart fight Prince Uriel? Maybe.
Oh boy.
Cool. That's a good book. I love playing a campaign of maybe.
Do we have any miniatures to look at this week?
Unfortunately, we don't have enough that I will let it pile up a little bit so we can look at it next week.
Would you like to explain for the listeners what our model review is like and how to participate?
So let me just make sure I get the right thing, and let me double check to see how many miniatures we have. Yeah, we only have the 2, and I didn't post anything. So if you join the Lore Seekers Discord, the Lorebeards Discord, and become a Lore Seeker, you can jump into our miniature painting part and post miniatures. And if you post miniatures here, if you don't say anything about them, we take them onto the stream and we're just like, hey, look at this really cool miniature that somebody painted. Isn't this super rad and awesome? And we talk about it, or we talk about how the painting could be a little bit better. Sometimes we'll
I
be
tend to be the bad cop in these situations. Alexis is always like, "Oh, this is really nice," and I'm always like, "Oh, you missed that, you missed this."
Actually,
so, yeah, I unfortunately I don't want to be the bad cop, but I feel like that's the role I've fallen into.
But like, we do love seeing our community's miniatures and the stuff that you guys are painting and your hobby growing and everything. We love seeing that on the channel, and we love spending time with our community as much as possible. And doing the doing the painting showcase at the end of our videos is usually how we do this. Unfortunately, there's not enough miniatures today. In the future, if you want to join it, you just post a miniature. And you could tag one of us. You don't have to. I will scroll back up, grab a whole bunch of them, and we will talk about them on stream.
Yes, that is always super fun. Hey, we have a super chat from Ice Veins. He says, just throwing this out for a future what if episode. What if the Krorks never devolved into the orcs? What ramifications would this mean for the galaxy? I don't feel like there's enough information on Krorks but we could definitely talk about it. It just would be very, very speculative.
We'd have to throw it into a multiple what if episode.
Right.
Let me see if there's any real sources for Krorks. I'm just gonna check that really quickly.
But I like this is one of the things we like about our communities. You guys suggest show topics you want to see. We have a lot of them, but we always are welcome to hear more. We want to know what you guys think. And I think this would be a good time to like just kind of shift this into an ask me anything type section, because we do have about another 25 minutes of show left.
Yep.
But according to what we know, Krorks were the original bioengineered shock troops by the old ones for the War in Heaven. That's what we know about them. They were designed to fight Necron and Satan. The orcs are what the Krorks devolved into after millions of years. Krorks have been depicted or described as massive warriors, towering over even like our, the largest orc in 40K is probably not as big as a Krork. They were intelligent. They were able to engineer things. They had technology that could rival or even surpass early Imperial gear. So I don't know. They probably had what fascinates me most about the Krork is like, I want to learn more about how the Waaagh worked back then. Did they have a psychic field that was maybe more focused or less powerful?
They're mentioned in the Fabius Bile Clone Lord book.
Yes, they are. I've read that book. I've read that book.
Okay.
So they're the lost precursor race of the orcs created by the old ones. I mean, that's all I really can tell you. Smarter, ancient, bigger, possibly better psychers. I mean, that's all we really could tell about the differences between them and orcs. So I don't know. I just don't know. But it's a pretty interesting. I would love to learn more. Like, one of the things I'd love to see is a book about the War in Heaven. Or
no. I want the Book of War in Heaven to have 3 chapters that are all chapter 1.
Well, we have a whole episode on the War in Heaven. If you want to know more about how that works out and why there's different stories about it, go check out that episode.
And if you want to see me have an aneurysm on stream.
The attack moon.
Oh my god.
Here we go. Red Angel says, thank you for being brilliant host. As a Blood Angel player, I'd ask, will Carbulo be back to try and continue to fix the Black Rage? What do you think Dante will do? I am also a Blood Angel fan.
I really thought they were going to have Carbello in the launch box. I thought that was going to be him. And then they were like, nah, it's not him. And I was like, oh, that's a little bit, that's a shame. But I could see Carbello coming back. When was the last time he had a miniature? That had to be like a while ago, right? I want to say
it's been a while.
Yeah. I want to say it's 5th edition that he had a miniature.
So for anybody who doesn't know, Blood Angels are a Space Marine chapter that is themed around blood. They're basically space vampires.
Yeah.
And Corbulo is the head of their apothecarian. They call it the sanguinary priesthood. He is very important because he's the keeper of the chalice that contains some of Sanguinius's blood. Dante is the chapter master of the Blood Angels, also head of the Fellowship of Blood, which is the chapter. It's a collection of all the successor chapters and the Blood Angels together under one banner. Is called the Fellowship of Blood. Let's see.
His miniature is from 3rd edition.
Is it really? Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
then it's been a long time.
It is a metal miniature. He
Long
had
time.
miniatures that were almost him, and miniatures that were, this is Carbello adjacent, where it's like, we're not going to call it him for some reason, but it's in the exact same pose with the exact same weaponry.
So if Corbulo were to come back, here's my thinking. He would be trying to fix the Black Rage, but I don't. To make it a 40K story, he will come back with a possible cure that will probably backfire. Like
Yeah.
it's very unlikely that he will actually cure it. He might have the Red Grail, which is the special cup that he carries. It's been repeatedly emphasized in the Blood Angel fiction and lore that is key to a lot of the ceremonies and things that they do with blood, and cleansing the blood is definitely something he's very interested in, of the genetic flaw that creates the Black Rage, the Red Thirst and the Black Rage. Black Rage is more of a psychic thing. The Red Thirst is definitely part of their genetics. Anyway,
it is really cool that he is his current lore is that he's fascinated with the Primaris Marines because they're less likely to fall to that.
Yes. For a while they were immune. For a while I was told directly when the Primaris came out that they did not suffer from the same flaws yet. And
the Curse of the Wolfen.
Yeah,
where the Primaris were completely immune to it until they weren't. I really like that. I love that Primaris like started out as like these, I'm the pure Space Marine, and then it's like, oh, they don't really fit into our chapter. Then all of a sudden they're turning into vampires and killing people, yelling Horus. Haha, they fit right in.
So here's what I think would be the most likely things. He'd come back with an idea of a cure. And who knows, it might even stabilize some of the Blood Angels that he tries it out on, but it also makes them less of a warrior. Like they lose their edge, they lose some of their martial skill, they lose some of their zeal, in battle. And I'm not saying like they become full passive, but they just definitely are less capable when they're cured. That would be the way I'd go with it.
Do you want to go even darker than that? All right, hear me
out. All right.
So you know about the Crimson Gorillas that the Blood Angels turn into, right?
Yeah.
The very weird thing that's in the tower. So for those of you that don't know, Blood Angels, if they're affected by the Black Rage and the Red Thirst for too long, they become these like weird, almost skinless Space Marine crimson monsters. Like think vampires from like Hellsing type deal. And when
that created a new unit. They get a new unit out of it.
Yes,
that would be even better.
What I'm getting with this.
Yeah.
What happens is, as he's creating this cure, he's like, "Okay, I got it. I cured it," and the people show nothing. Like it
for
looks
a while.
Like it works. It looks like it really works, and then they like start like getting more and more bloodthirsty, and as they're like killing, they're getting even more and more until they start ripping off their armor and turning into these things. That could be so cool. Where it's like, it's a desperation tactic at this point where he stabs them with the Narthesium filled with this stuff, and it just transforms them into there's Kovu. It like transforms them into the worst case scenario for Blood Angels, and then they just die after the battle.
I'm thinking of something like Vargulfs or Vargeists from Warhammer Fantasy. Bat-like creatures would be kind of really interesting.
Or the Waaagh.
Well, just something that's less bestial, less wolfy and more vampire-y.
Well, then keep Varg out of its name because that's just wolf.
Listen, man, I didn't come up with the names for the Vargulfs and the Vargeists, but that's what they're called, and they're big bat monsters. Okay, man, I don't know what to tell you.
It's still not as funny as Waaagh. The Waaagh from Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer AOS its name is just wolf cheese in Icelandic, and it's really funny, and we giggle about it a lot.
All right, I want to finish this question before I move
Yep.
on. What is going to happen with Dante? I think Dante is long overdue for a final cathartic chapter.
No,
and
he has to get back to work.
I think he's long overdue for a final cathartic chapter. I think the fan base is desperate for some sort of end for Dante because he's been around a long time. And I think that it's either going to be about him handing over leadership to someone else and him becoming like a dreadnought or merging with the Sanguinor. Yeah, I think he's going to have some sort of final arc where he does a cool heroic moment and then he becomes a different form of Dante, but he's still something you can field like a dreadnought or the Sanguinor. That's what I think. That's kind of where I see that going.
The best I can do is a promotion.
Yeah. All right. And we got a super chat from Necroplayer. Headcanon theory. The Waaagh is a malfunctioning biological system implant in orcs that was meant to drive them to the Necrons and Satan. That's interesting. And so that would actually so what he's saying is that the orcs inbuilt drive to fight, because that's what leads to Waaghs.
Yeah.
Is literally just a bug left over from their creation of shock troops, and they've devolved to the point where it's now driving them against each other and everyone else instead of driving them against the Necrons and Satan. That's a pretty good idea. I dig that.
I do like that a lot, actually. That's kind of cool. But I also love that the Waaagh is just this inherent will of the orcs themselves, where it's like, we want to fight, we want the biggest fights.
Rush 21 points. Rush 21129 points out that Vargas would be awesome because they're the opposite of the Sanguinor. Yeah, ugliness. They would represent an ugly side of the Blood Angels, which would be pretty wild. Lamenters. Oh yeah, Lamenters were that way too. Says Face Octopus. Yeah. That's Blood Angels are. I have a Blood Angel model right up there. I'm a big fan of Blood Angels. They're not my top. The top is Dark Angels, but they're right underneath them. For me. So any other questions you guys have that you'd like us to cover before we close out this episode of Lorebeards? Oh, we got a comment from Rush 2129. Rush, you're killing me today. You're doing all these great comments. Dante, he should retire, and as a Blood Angel loyalist, I would smile at that, but sadly, nope. Yeah, it's Warhammer 40k. There's no retiring to a yacht. He's going to keep fighting either as a Sanguinor or as a Dreadnought, because that's what's going to happen.
Just remember, one day from retirement, you get called back into action.
Tycho is the only Blood Angel I know of that's a named character that was allowed to die.
Yeah, they discontinued his miniature and everything.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Skara, Prince of the Parade. Thank you, sir, for your support. Doesn't matter the orc. Every orc fears Sigmar and Old Baali. It is a natural response for orcs to run at the sight of hammers and a red eye.
Yep.
Okay, so that's what he's saying. It's like, okay, so the hammers. Okay, I get it now. Yeah. Sigmar, not.
He did retire for.
And he did follow it up. Sigmar. Yeah.
I hate that there's no edit button.
Commissar Kane did retire for a while. CNR points out that is true.
Mm-hmm.
So if Old Baali, you're killing people by looking at you, that is something that Satan could have done. Certainly the Nightbringer could have done. Have a death stare of some kind. Are they seeing Yarick as like some sort of echo of their ancient enemies? That'd be interesting. Huh. That's interesting. It's wild that the orcs don't. I mean, the orcs still consider Eldar enemies, right? They don't go out of their way to attack.
Pansies, but yeah.
But they still there. But they were both created by the old ones to fight on the same side of the same war, which is wild.
I mean, I can imagine that the hostility started with, as weird as this is, the hostility started with the orcs, but it was like contained, and it was escalated exponentially by the Eldar.
Well, we did. So we have an episode on what if the Eldari didn't create Slaanesh and their empire stuck around. And in that episode, we talked about how the Eldari very likely culled or wiped out most of the Krorks to ascend to their own empire. So any enmity between orcs and Eldari are probably related to that. The orcs are probably like, yeah, we were on the same side once, but
Wasn't the flesh is weak an incomplete quote? That is true.
yes,
The rest of it is stated by Vulcan.
right. Which is what?
I forget, but I remember that is half the quote.
All right, I'll have to look that up. So what would you like to talk about for the last 10 minutes, Alexis?
I don't want all right, I'm gonna say this right now. I don't want Dante to die. I want Dante's soul to be possessed and for him to keep fighting forever. I want him to finally break, only to be again touched by Sanguinius and be like, nah, keep going.
Wow, you are cruel. You just want to punish him.
Cruel universe. Like, he doesn't get the happy ending of death.
Oh, the line is the flesh is weak, but deeds endure is the full line.
Yeah. And then we got another super chat.
Scar, Prince of the Parade. How would 40k orcs react to Grimgor and Skarsnik, given in the end times those two greenskins were the avatars of Gork and Mork? I mean,
they'd probably be bosses. Like,
I guess. I mean, Skarsnik would be like a Gretchen boss. They'd be pretty impressed with Skarsnik. I think Grimgor would be just another war boss to them, frankly.
Be a warlord. And I think Gosgol would have a word with him. It
probably
depends how big he is.
Probably. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't
like,
know.
Orcs very much are about size and everything, where fantasy orcs are more kind of like realistic animal people. I say that with a massive grain of salt, but compared to 40k orcs are much dumber. So it's I think
Skarsnik would get the most attention. Skarsnik would be like, they would be very impressed with a Gretchen who is actually a boss.
He would probably be able to. He would be the Red Gobbo. He would be the biggest Red Gobbo.
Well, he probably most 40k orcs would try to bully Skarsnik, and then when they realize they can't bully him, they'd be like, "Whoa, what's going on here? This is against the natural order. What's happening?"
So
yeah, I don't know. So Grimgor is the biggest orc in fantasy that we know of. That's true. And as a black orc, he is super strong and killed nearly all of Helpet's monsters. Also true. But 40
Gosgo big.
40k orcs are just built different, man. I don't know what to tell you. There's Erlak Erg literally fought the Emperor and damn near killed him. And Gazgul is, I would argue, Gazgul's far more dangerous than Grimgor ever was. So there's that. But I don't want to make this about a comparison of which is better, fantasy or 40k.
I think they both have their merits.
Yeah, if 40k's rules are not in play, if it's the fantasy rules are in play, then Grimgor and his magic axe and all the the stuff that he's got going on would be very, very powerful and very, very impactful. I think Skarsnik is also isn't he a caster?
I think so. I don't know enough about fantasy.
Yeah, and I don't know enough about fantasy to tell you for sure.
As much as Ryan knows about 40k is as much as I know about fantasy.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is a little bit out of our wheelhouse. I'm doing my best here, man. But I think Skarsnik would be the real celebrity in 40k, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that would be actually kind of cool because Grotz and Gretchen in 40k just have nothing, and the Red Gobbo is very de-emphasized and backgrounded lately. So it'd be really fun to see a goblin character. Which, I mean, obviously Skarsnik is a goblin and not a Gretchen, but they're so similar that it would be analogous.
Yeah, the orcs wouldn't be able to tell them apart. But one thing I do want back in 40k really badly is Grot tanks.
Yes.
I want them back so badly.
Killicants, too, were also piloted by Grots.
Yes, but I want the silly little tiny tanks of Doom.
Yeah, the Grot tanks are great. I would love to see those come back. I'm 100% on that. Skarsnik is a caster. Okay, so yeah, if fantasy's rules are in play, then Skarsnik would be far more impressive because all the abilities and things he can generate would be and without exploding his own head, right? Yeah. Would be huge.
I think there's still psychic backlashes and things in fantasy. It's just not as crazy as 40k where you fucking explode and kill everyone next. Actually, no, it's about the same.
Well, I think miscasts in fantasy are less impactful. I don't know. Again, this is a question for Ryan. I don't know. I'm doing my best here, fellas, but it's really interesting.
Ryan a few times.
All right. So, have you got any other questions you want to ask us about the Cult of Speed, Wazdaka, Evil Sons, orcs in general, racetracks, Votan, bearded bikers, or anything else we've discussed this week?
Or Kovu. Look at that big yawn.
So our show, just as a reminder for anybody who doesn't know us, we like to do our shows on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Saturdays are typically for like a deep lore dive, and Wednesdays are kind of our bonus episodes where we talk about, hey, let's build an orc freebooter, which we did do. Faceflaya returned,
who shoots fucking Necron flayed ones at Necrons.
Yeah, we ended up with a pretty wild orc freebooter there, and we've built we have let's builds, we have what ifs, we have plans for even more unusual things to come. Prince of the Parade says, is it possible for Tyranids to fully eat the orc race? Yes, it's possible. Not likely, but possible.
Very unlikely.
So I would encourage you, Scar, Prince of the Parade, check out the Octarius War on Lexicanum, because that is a massive conflict that just got recently, very, very recently resolved. But it was a massive conflict between the Tyranids and the orcs. Possibly, we don't know much about the overfeed of Octarius, but he has got to be one of the strongest orcs in the entire setting, because that guy has been fighting Tyranids forever. And the region of Octarius is not small, so he's probably a really big orc. And if I remember right, the orcs actually won that battle at the end.
I think that they did, because the Tyranids were also getting exterminatus.
I think that's how it worked out. We're gonna have a whole episode on the Octarius War. It's on our list of topics to cover at some point in the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely recommend, if you're interested in Nids versus orcs, that's where you go. The bottom line is, whoever wins, we lose.
Yeah,
because they both get better. They both get better and stronger from fighting things and eating things, specifically eating things in the Tyranid's case. Anyway, yeah. Any other questions you guys want to ask? We have about 4 minutes left in the show, and I'd be happy to answer anything. Okay, we've got a question from Scar, Prince of the Parade. Love the fact you're engaged, sir. Really appreciate it. I mean, another thing, could any orc in 40k actually beat the Swarm Lord in a fight? Yes. Who could beat the Swarm Lord, Alexis, and why?
So there's actually quite a few that I think could beat the Swarm Lord. Weirdly enough, Wazdaka Gutsmek could probably beat a Swarm Lord, because the Swarm Lord would not have any information on him as they're before the bout. So it is very possible that, due to the Swarm Lord's slow speed and the range of his psychic powers, that Wazdaka can just gun him down and just ride away, and then come back, gun him down and ride away, and just keep hitting and running tactics. Gosgol could kill one, because it's Gosgol and he has plot armor, and unfortunately Swarm Lords don't.
Gazgul could do it. Gazgul is the absolute tippy top.
Yeah.
Like
I would say that Tuska could definitely do it.
From what little we know about Tuska, yes.
I mean, dude's fighting
bloodthirsters. Yeah,
bloodthirsters. Like, he could do it. There's a few orcs that could do it, I would say.
The overfeed of Octarius. Potentially. I don't think Snickrot could.
No.
If Gutsmek, Wazdaka could do it if it was it would have to be like some sort of weird Evel Knievel or movie style stunts. He'd have to pull something really wild to do it, but he could probably do it.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if there are any other characters that I think could do it.
Urlak Urg,
yeah, easy.
But Urlak Urg's gone. Yeah, I think Snickrot couldn't. I don't think any of the other named orcs could do it though. I don't think Grotsnik could. I don't think
maybe Buzzgob, but probably not. Which is the war boss from Dawn of War? He could do it.
Oh,
I can't remember his name right. It's not Gutrippa. It's Oh my god, why am I drawing a blank at his name? But he could do it without a doubt.
The dude on the big white squig, that one is cool as hell, says Micah.
He is, but I don't think he could do it.
Blood Flag, I don't think Blood Flag could.
Blood Flag would get absolutely demolished.
Gorguts is the one from.
Could do it.
Yeah, Gorguts could. I agree that Gorguts could.
It would be a really tough fight for him, though. Like, extremely tough, but I think he could do it.
So Nazdreg could not. Let's start the easy ones. Nazdreg could not. Orchimedes could not. Snickrot could not. No. Nazdreg, no. Zog, no.
There's like a million Tyrannid, I tried. I can't word right now. But no, I don't think he could do it. But
Red Gobbo couldn't. Snagrod couldn't. Clawjaw, maybe. The Beast probably could.
No, the Beast, yeah. The Beast could do it.
Gorbat, Ironclaw, no. I don't think so.
But overall, fighting the Tyranids is something that the orcs like. But weirdly enough, they don't prefer fighting Tyranids. They prefer fighting Imperials. Because Imperials have like that back and forth. Where Tyranids don't. They lack character. Orcs want the character to fight.
And speaking of fighting, we have fought all the way to the very end of our show. So we're going to leave you guys now. We got a last minute super chat from Scar Prince of the Parade. What 40k character could kill Gotrek and Felix? Cypher.
Slanesh.
That's cheating a little bit there.
God.
I'll say Sigismund as a backup. All right. We've got to go, fellas. It's been real fun. And Alexis, why don't you take us out?
So remember, everyone, in the grim darkness of the far future,
there is only lore. Thanks all. Cheers,
everyone.